All right, so DL, single men shouldn't, can't give, let's add good dating advice.
Man, who said that?
You know, I hear it all the time, all the time. And here's the thing, there's some truth to it. I mean, there can be some truth to it, right? For instance, I think the idea is, well, shouldn't a married man be giving out dating advice? Wouldn't that make sense? Wouldn't that be logical?
Yes, I get that. However, once that man becomes married, he's out of the trenches. So he's not up to speed with any changes which may or may not have occurred since he's been married. And most of these guys who are saying this, at least what I've been seeing, these are dudes who've been married 20, 30 years, and they're telling you how the game is working today. And nah, that's not the dude. You know, for instance, Steve Harvey. You know, you got these old dudes stuck in their old ways, and they want guys to operate in the way that they did. I mean, it makes sense. Hey, it got me a wife. Like, yeah, bro, but that was 1978. That was 1985. Like, bro, it's a whole new game out here now.
So the dating landscape has changes, at least on the surface, right? We'd agree on that. But I would argue people haven't changed. I don't think people have changed, let me say innately, since I mean to a notable degree, let's say in the last 100 years. People still want the same shit. Now I know today that looks like an iPhone, right? It looks like some shit that didn't exist 100 years ago. But what I'm saying is the main drivers of people, I don't think have changed. However, what people think they want, right? What they on the surface believe that they want, I think that that has probably changed overall to some degree.
Um, I think the core of what people were looking for and what people want hasn't really changed that much. And what do I mean by that? Like, they want happiness and they want success. So I don't believe that's changed. I don't think anyone's out there getting in relationships like, well, I'm gonna go in here for the train wreck because I just love train wrecks. I don't think that's happening. But the way in which you get there has changed quite a bit. I would argue in the past 5 years, 5 to 8 years, it's really changed with technology. Technology has
So,
made it a very, very
wh-
different game.
what examples do you have?
As far as the change coming, I mean
You
the
mean
biggest
like
one,
Tinder, Instagram,
well, just the whole
Photoshop?
Photoshop. My God, yeah, Photoshop. But everything has moved from outside to inside. Everything's indoors now, right? Everything's indoors. But when I'm in my 50s. When I came up, bro, we were outside, and we had to learn how to be social. We had to learn how to interact with others. You know, we had to know look out for that stranger and be careful around the weird dude in the van and look out for the cat ladies. But now everyone is online, and like you said, the filters, the technology has changed to such a degree that this game is unrecognizable, bro. It's unrecognizable. And then we're just now starting to see the effects of these changes. So when you have someone who was dating and let's say got married in 1998, say you got a guy who got married in 1998. This technology didn't exist back then, right? We didn't even have Facebook. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have, remember MySpace? I don't know if you remember that. Like, we didn't have that. I mean, the best we had were chat rooms, right? America Online and people going into different chat rooms and you're texting. You have no idea. It would take a day to be able to load up a picture or something like that. It was like all this it was kind of all crazy. Now everything is so instant. So, and even back then when you went into a chat room and you met up with someone and, you're talking to people all over the world and you discover that, oh, this person that I'm chatting with is in my area. Now you got to, okay, well, who is this person? She got this cool name. It was just this was 1998. I just got to LA and I bought a used laptop computer. And I mean, it was, back then everything was slow. You had to plug in, it was dial up, like this kind of stuff, right? And I was on a page called Black Planet. It might still exist. It was like black people's page where they would go and have these different chat rooms. So I went into one of the chat rooms. It was like single or whatever chat room. And I go in there and I'm talking to some woman, and her handle was 5'9", thick in the thighs or something like that. It was something very sexual but subtle, you know. And she's describing herself to me. And then, you know, she asked to see a picture. So I had one on standby. So I send it to her. I think I had to email it to her. And she saw it. And then she was like, oh, I'm having trouble loading up my picture. And I'm like, you're a fat girl. You know, you've been lying or whatever. She's like, no. And it turns out that she actually lived, like she drove by my house twice a day going to work, on her way to work. Like it was, you know, the conversation had gotten to that point. Now, before I move on in the story, the fact that I was able to handle that conversation back then was a testament to going outside and being social and talking to people, right? Today, bro, these dudes can't do that. They can't have conversations. They say some of the wildest things. We see it here in the chat. I'm pretty sure someone in the chat right now is saying some wild shit as we speak. So like people don't realize.
No, not yet.
But I'm just, you know, but I mean, it's just people understand that they have this virtual wall and they can hide behind it. Well, back then, you know, I'm meeting this woman and she's saying she wants to meet me. So the next day she sends me a picture, and my response to her was, I don't know who this woman is in the picture, but I want to meet her. And she's like, that's me. And I met her the next day. So within a 72-hour period, we went from being strangers online to actually meeting in real life. And then this boy, was it a great meeting. But that was all part of the dating game, because all I did was implement my normal dating strategies to this new technology that was brand new at the time. And most people, to even get online, had to be at a certain place in their life. There weren't any brokies, right, online back then.
Right, we didn't have Obama phones or whatever. Right. Yeah,
whatever
like
that was,
welfare internet system. Sure.
Yeah, look, and Sister Jody in the village, like, we behaving like we just got started. And shout out to Scam Likely on my page. Shout out to Scam Likely and anyone else who might be checking us out over there. And I really want to know, man, we're doing the dual stream here.
So to your points, you know, the surface, how it looks definitely changed, but I agree with Uncle Guns, right? People haven't really changed, right? We're still the same. So getting into the dating part in particular, right? Title here. So why do you believe that single men can or should give dating advice? And before you go, let me just say, I actually don't give a shit. Dating advice, I don't even think it's so broad, you know, what one's goals actually are. And I think that men and women innately have almost opposite goals. And where they converge, where they meet, would be a relationship of sorts.
Yes. So my take on it, my official take on it is, I believe everyone should give advice, from the married dude, the single dude, the weirdo guy, the weirdo girl, the married woman. I think everyone should give advice, and it's up to you as the person to listen to what they're saying and take what you need and leave the rest. I would say the best advice would come from single guys who are out here right now dealing with the dating market. I would say that that's where you're going to get the best advice.
I would say probably, I mean, if we're just to make that a whole statement, right? The general single man, I would say maybe for men's short-term goals, then sure. But as far as long-term, maybe. But here's the thing, we have to back up. Most people, let's start with this as a foundation. Most people are fucking retarded. Men, women, most people suck. Most people shouldn't be dating, right? If I'm to say should or shouldn't, you probably shouldn't. Most people aren't together. We can look at many stats that would, you know, paint the picture of the average man, average woman. But average man, average woman, not healthy. Not even physically, let alone mentally, emotionally, spiritually, however you want to go deep with that. So I don't think most people should be dating. With that said, I don't know if most people date. I think most women date. And I think not most, it would be a minority for men. Less men date than don't. That's what the stats would seem to suggest. That's what my anecdotes would seem to imply. Do you agree, disagree, or you're with all that?
No, you're right. Like today, yes, 100%. And I didn't. I guess I was implying that the guys who are out there dating, giving advice, or the guys who are getting success with women, but that's a minority of dudes. I should have tacked that on there. You're correct. That is a minority of dudes. Talk to the guys who are having some success, and even some of the guys who are failing out there in today's world. It's completely changed. So I would say the majority of dudes aren't getting any traction whatsoever. Of the guys who are trying to do it, a lot of guys have given up. They're like, bro, it ain't worth it. They don't even want to deal with it. They've just kind of stepped away from it. As far as women go, I think that their success rate, or as far as, dating, meeting people, whatever, I think it's the same. I don't think those numbers have really changed much. Going back as far as you want to go, I think it's pretty much the same.
Well, I think women are starting to go their own way, right? There's MGTOW, men going their own way. I think that women are starting to go their own way, although I wouldn't call it the majority, but it seems like a significant portion of women are like, fuck this. I'd rather be a single boss bitch, maybe lesbian, depending.
Right.
It could go some different routes. And it seems to me that, in a sense, if we look at the big picture, that women have replaced a singular man with a multitude of men to lesser degrees, meaning instead of one man supporting them, there might be 1,000 on OF or through Twitter, Instagram, something monetized showing off their body. More and more women seem to be doing this, right? Taking advantage of it. And as far as I'm concerned, it's pragmatic. It makes sense. But only to the short term. To the long term, that's where the cat lady trope comes from, right? That's where the, die alone, single in your 40s fit. And by the way, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any woman or man being single for that matter. I'm just saying overall society, this seems to be what's happening, and therefore breaking down the family structure. Family, like a all-in-one household, seems ever more rare than any time ever before, at least to my knowledge.
Yeah, I definitely see you on that, bro, because I think that it used to be, prior to technology, the majority of dudes and women too, their mission was to find a significant other and settle down. That used to be the thing. Like when I was coming up as a kid, coming up in the 70s, the grown-ups were always say that. Society was like, oh, you're going to find yourself a girlfriend and get married and have babies. That was get a job at the factory or get a job at the GM plant. And that was how it was supposed to go. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Now, we want to put it on being independent and, that sort of thing. We want to put it on the hypergamy thing that you hear a lot about, depending on what part of the internet you're in, women wanting to date at their level or up, however you want to place it. I mean, it is what it is, but I was out last night because, weekends I do a fair bit of networking, just kind of taking care of stuff, doing things or whatever. And what I'm noticing is, to your point, there are a lot of boss babes, independent women out by themselves in groups, right? They're getting their own section. They're buying their own bottles. They're paying to get themselves into the club. They're doing whatever by themselves. And they're becoming more and more difficult to talk to because they only want to speak to a certain type of dude. And if you're not that dude, they're not going to tolerate you a lot of the times. Now, having said that, most people don't go out. So when we're having this conversation and saying, oh, women are this and women are that, I'm only talking about the women that I see actually going out. And then, we see these women thirst trapping on Instagram or whatever. You got the OF girls and all that, but I don't think they're representative of most women. I do believe that
no, they're not. I mean, clearly.
Right? Yeah, clearly. I mean, because as a single dad, when I go to my daughter's football games, like my daughter's in the band, I'm seeing a whole segment of women that I don't see when I go out. I don't see them at the networking events. I don't see them in the lounges. I don't see them, out and about in the streets. But boy, do I see them at the football games. I see them at the pep rallies. I see them at the meetings for the band. I see them at the competitions. And these are single women as well. A lot of them
I
are
see
single
him at
moms.
the farmer's market.
You see them at the farmer's market.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a good place.
Right. So the vast majority of women are not in these hedonistic things and twerking and all that kind of stuff, but they too seem to be having trouble finding themselves a quote unquote good man. Why? Because technology has them fooled, I believe. They think that the average guy is 6'3", making $200,000 a year, and he has, perfect symmetry and blue eyes, and he's funny, and he plays the lute and all his other shit. And it's like, nah, that's not the average dude. So, and they're holding out for the absolute best as well. And some of these women, like, they want to meet guys, they have urges, they fall prey to these dudes who know what they're doing. These guys in the top 20, top 10, top 5%. They know what they're doing and they know what they want. These are the guys like, I'm just trying to smash.
Now,
So
when you talk about percentages, right, like top 5, top 1, as far as I'm concerned, that's not. I'm going to put an idea out here for you. It's not about real value, however you want to put that. Not about how you really, when it comes to wealth or looks or whatever. It's all about perception. So if you are perceived, and a starting place would be you perceiving yourself, but if you are perceived in what you're saying, this kind of hierarchy, right? And I kind of joke about it a little bit, right? I'm in the top 1%. But with that said, I mean, I really think that it has nothing to do with real value. And a lot of men don't understand that. They think that it, like, a woman should really care about how good I am at, science for my job. And the truth is, they don't give a fuck. They don't give a flying fuck. Now, perhaps one will, right? Perhaps some may, right, who have an interest in that or whatever the case. But generally, I think it would be, well, how is he perceived in this position, right? What did this knowledge or real value, where did it get him to in the perception of others? And, kind of mixing in here, I think a lot of FOMO based on what seems like more options than ever, right? 100 years ago, maybe the average U.S., let's say person, man or woman, might be exposed to 1,000 others in their lifetime. I mean, really, that could have been the case. I mean, in physical proximity.
Maybe not that many. Maybe
yeah, I mean, depending.
Yeah.
But let's say maybe 1,000. Now it could be easily millions. I mean, if you combine social media with ease of travel, and then you combine them to flying out, whatever the fuck. Right?
Yeah, the flued out. I got flued out.
Yeah. So I think that option, sort of, I forgot what the name of it is, but like the paradox, too many options, right, has led people to keep aiming for things that don't really exist, right? So I'm talking about expectations of women and of men, right? A lot of men have an expectation of, it seems to me, well, I can be out of shape. I can be not pursuing better, financial, better, outcomes of different life variables for men. I can just be me. And if women don't like me, then, they're all bad. They're all evil, this type of shit. And that's not necessarily the case, right? And I'm not saying that you should do things just for women. I actually don't think you should do that. But maybe that's another sign that you haven't really gotten on your purpose, right? You haven't really found importance of putting higher standards upon yourself. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And yes, you hit on a lot of good points there, bro. When I throw out these numbers and I talk about, I'm always talking about 80-20. And the only reason I use those numbers is I want to illustrate that there's a small minority of guys who are out there really killing it when it comes to dating. And the vast majority of dudes are struggling. It doesn't matter what percentages you want to use, in my opinion. And those numbers aren't etched in stone. Any guy could get to a point where women are interested in him. He just has to do the work. To your point, you can't just be a fat dude who's living at home, not working any real jobs, no prospects, and think that you're going to go out here and get yourself a supermodel or whatever. It just doesn't work that way. You're going to have to put in some work. And Any man can do it. If you're in the bottom 80 and you get your confidence up, which is the most important thing, you get your confidence up and then work on these other aspects, women will see you. And now you just have to really work on your social game to be able to talk to them. Now that's coming from a dude who's been in the trenches for a very long time. So when it comes to, a single guy, I'll never get married. I'll never get legally married in this country. It won't happen. Right. So for someone to say that, well, I can't give you any effective advice, especially from a man, an old man, a wiser dude, to some of these younger dudes, or even some dudes my age, you look better listening to what I have to say. Now,
So yeah, before you go on, because I want to already hit on a few points here. One is confidence, right? Now, there's a lot of material out there. Be more confident. That doesn't mean anything, right? Like just saying it doesn't mean it's not actionable. Be more confident, right? But I do think that generally one can achieve more confidence by setting higher standards for themselves, right? Men setting higher, better, working hard, discipline, whatever it takes to accomplish or get closer to goals. Maybe it won't be directly leading to confidence with women, but that higher self-respect does lead to more general confidence. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you want to be good at something.
Sure, yeah.
If you're the dude in the office who he's always the go-to guy with whatever that is. If you're the go-to computer programming guy, or you're the go-to guy when it comes to getting leave or whatever it is, you're good at it. Women they're gonna notice you just on that alone. Now, that is not gonna get you to the promised land, so to speak. You're gonna have to couple that up with some other things. Right. Every time you can't be the weirdo pushing his glasses up, with the weird sounding voice. And every time a cute girl comes over, you start saying weird things. You got to work on that. Right. You got to learn how to interact with the rest of the humans in your office. And if you can master that, then at least you're in the ball game. Dating is hard, bro. I mean, when these guys come to me, dating today is very difficult. It's not like it was in the 70s and 80s and the early 90s. Right. And again, people believe, mostly women, that they have unlimited options. Like you could be some woman in Grayling, Michigan somewhere. You know what I mean? You could be in Oklahoma City somewhere. And you got guys hitting you up from London, from Tokyo. You got guys hitting you up from Dubai. If you find enough, you have guys who have the expendable cash. They'll fly you out wherever. Right? And they're just looking to do whatever they want to do. And some women are falling for this fairy tale.
So I don't agree. Well, I do agree in part, but I don't agree to the extent that you're saying dating is harder today than ever, outside of the correlation of people becoming shittier, people lowering their own standards. I think finding people, men, women, either, that do respect themselves, right, to a degree higher than I'm going to poison myself most of the day. I'll make it that simple. Finding people outside of that, I don't think it's becoming more and more rare, right? So outside of that, I don't think dating is getting harder. But when you consider that, I think that correlative, then I could go with what you're saying. Now, I'll let you get into some of the nuance of what you mean by harder. Actually, you go ahead. Like, for instance.
Well, this comment here about the fat dude with the nice car and money. Okay, if you're a fat dude with a horrible attitude and you have lots of money, you got the car, nice house, whatever, and you're going after these really attractive women and they don't like you, bro, they're just going to run your pockets. They're going to use you for the experiences. You see these dudes making all these noise. They take all these pictures. I saw it last night. I went to see one of my friends who's a bartender at one of the gentleman clubs here in Tampa. And I was in there last night just watching. And the fat dude was in there. The old dude was in there. And they're surrounded by these young, beautiful women. And guess what these girls were doing? They were literally taking the guy's car, going to the bar and ordering hundreds of dollars worth of alcohol and giving it to their friends. So, the money and all that kind of stuff, the materialistic stuff that's on out there, that's part of it. But these dudes don't understand the game. They don't understand what's going on. Most of these dudes are getting ran for money, for experiences and stuff like that. They're not.
Yeah, but they're dumb dudes.
There's some guys who are okay with it. There was the old dudes last night. They knew what they were doing. They were okay
or
with it.
that.
They
I
were
still
okay
think
with
they're
it.
dumb, but yeah, guys who are coping that this is a fine relationship, or they're just completely transactional. I mean, yeah, I hear you, but I'm just saying, look, I'm going to look at this in a different angle, right? You say it can be fat with a nice car and money, right? Materialistic. I agree. However, there's filters that you can use. Now, again, I don't give out any advice. I don't believe in advice, right? In the sense that there's too many variables, right? We can look at men generally, women generally, but let me put it like this. I don't want a general woman, right? I don't want the average anyway, so why even talk about the average in a way? But with that said, here's how, like when I go out, which is not often, right? Every few weeks, something like that. I normally get approached, which is kind of, I'm so not try hard. I go out like this. And here's the deal. I could be wearing a suit. I know I'll get crazy attention. I've gotten crazy attention, right? I mean, considering I could go out in between, I would get more. I don't want attention. I don't go out looking for attention. I go out with my earbuds in when I do. I mean, really. And I still end up getting approached, right? I talked about on another stream that some woman last time I went out offered to buy me a drink, right? Started talking to me. I pulled over and then she offered to buy me a. Now, dudes listening are like, no, there's no way. And it's like, you haven't had that happen. You haven't. I've had it happen plenty of times.
Yeah, it happens all the time, bro.
So, I mean, look, there's a lot of ways to look at things, but my point when we get to materialism is that in a sense, I rather have the filter of, plain clothes, dressed down, not superficial. It pushes the materialistic people away, as I would want it anyways. Now, you might say in a pragmatic approach, well, you're not going to get the hottest woman. Yeah, but if the hottest woman's a bitch, then I don't want to deal with her anyways. You see what I'm saying?
Well, that's a fact. And again, it goes back to the essence of the game itself. You're a confident dude. You know what you're looking for, right? You're a guy who probably realized a long time ago that discovery is way better. It's far better for her to discover things about you than it is for you to disclose those things up front. Right? You got so many guys who go out here and they say all these things, right? Because people with the nice car, you can have a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, but you can't drive it into the bar, right? So how do they know, right, that you got a Lamborghini or a Ferrari? They don't, and most girls don't even know what kind of car that is, to be honest with you. If you're dealing with a girl who knows how to get into a Lamborghini, if she knows how to start the car, she's been in a lot of Lamborghinis, bro, and I guarantee you she ain't had one. So that should tell you something right there. But your point is a valid point. You go out being you. You're not trying to be anyone else. And then as women get to know you, it only enhances what you're looking for. Plus, you know what you're looking for. Most of these dudes have no idea what their mission is when it comes to dating, right? Because they're all over the place and they listen to all these different people, and it's like, look, bro, you got to start with you. You will not be successful if you don't start with you. If you, and it's, if you want to go out here and chase after these materialistic girls, these chicks out here who are looking for a certain type of dude, which revolves around money and going to the best restaurants and flying first or business class and all that kind of stuff, then you're gonna get what you got coming, bro. Those women are real difficult to deal with. But the average guy doesn't understand that. So you get a guy who finally figures it out financially. He's in shape. He's figured it out financially. He's gotten himself some nice clothes, not expensive stuff, just a nice look. Now he's out there trying to find a wife. Like, bro, why are you in the nightclub? Why are you in these lounges? Why are you at these VIP parties? Because there's not wifey material in there. Why
generally
you
no?
Yeah, why are you on the Fresh and Fit boat trip? There's no wife material on that boat. You know what I mean? They're just not gonna happen. It's the same thing in Hollywood. If you're constantly at Hollywood events, you're gonna meet a certain type of woman. So these are things that they need to learn. And they're not learning these things because people are overlooking these things, or maybe they've never experienced it. I know women who can fool you. They'll come off as the girl next door. They'll come off as this beautiful, naive, right? This God-fearing woman. And then before you know it, you realize, like, oh my goodness, this she used to be an exotic dancer. She has an OF. She done banged all these dudes that I know and work with. You got her on your arm. You married her. Now you're embarrassed.
Yeah.
And what do? You get divorced? Okay. How much is that going to cost you?
You know, one thing I've realized, this is a little bit nuanced, but I've realized over time, you know, for instance, you're talking about manipulation, which, by the way, I would say applies to men and women. However, we're not talking about men dating men, clearly. And
Right.
it is true what you're saying. A lot of women, well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say a lot. There's there's plenty of women who have good game, so to speak, right? They can be very manipulative. And one thing I've realized is don't, I mean, maybe this is just me, but don't tell her your expectations because you're lending towards a pick me. And I've experienced this multiple times to different degrees where women heard my thoughts enough. We'll just say that. And they sort of curtailed how they were approaching me, right? Our conversations with things that I wanted to hear. You know what I mean? Like, sort of like, oh, yeah, I am a good girl. I'm not for the streets, this type of shit. And it turned out, you know, not the case. Not to the degree that you were talking about, not like, oh, was an undercover OF or whatever. But my point is, it takes time to get to know people, men and women. And for me personally, I'm not looking right now, right? It's not on my top 10. It's not there. But I'm not saying that it's not, right? There isn't times that, you know, can have enjoyable experiences, however you want to look at that.
Well, I mean, that's
So,
part of the game, isn't it? So back to your point, the whole purpose of this stream, you know, when you hit me up, thanks for hitting me up, by the way, bro. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'll talk to you about this. The thing is this. I believe that you need the game from those guys who are single in the trenches doing that, but you're also going to need advice and wisdom from the guys who got married, right? You're going to need both, right? You're going to need both. You're going to need to be familiar with both as this is moving forward because you come to me, I'll show you how to go out here, talk women, you know, talk to women, approach women, break the ice, all this kind of good stuff. I'll give you my experiences when it comes to women. Like if your mission is, well, I'm just trying to have sex, no problem. Keep your mouth shut. Right? Like just let her, because here's the thing, guys. If any men out there who are trying to figure it out, women choose, bro. There's nothing you can say that's gonna guarantee a woman's gonna come home with you that night. Nothing. If that was a thing, bro, that would be in a book, and that book would cost about $100,000 to get. If this was like guaranteed, this is gonna work.
so I wanna bookmark that because I'm gonna feed off of it. And Jody D, thank you. I do appreciate it. Have a drink on me based.
You want a sound effect, bro?
I will. Yeah.
Down to Marco.
Down the Marco.
$20.
Thank you, Jody. And you know, look, over time, and again, I'm just talking about my experience, but you know, years ago in particular, I didn't mind, right? I wasn't a liar. I didn't lie to women and say like, "Oh, I'm looking for a relationship with you." You know, this type. I didn't do that. I didn't lead them on in ways that maybe some men do, right? Imply or say that there's going to be much more. And with that said, I mean, to put it very blatantly, I would, you know, bang and not think anything of it and move on with my life. I mean, that was it. And a lot of them were pissed off at times, you know, and I think not even like they really liked me. I mean, maybe to some degree, but I think it was more the ego, you know, that sort of thing. And again, I wasn't out there trying to lie, right? But over time, I've kind of taken it to another level, which is if I know that I'm definitely not going to you know, be in the long term, right? I won't even do that. And look, to Gun's point, I don't have any receipts to put up. I'm just speaking of my experience. But with that said, there's been probably, I don't know, let's say a couple a month, right? Not a ton, but a couple a month that I turned down that gave me right signals that, you know, if I wanted to, I could have. And I don't do it. And the reason I don't do it for the most part is, yeah, I mean, I would, I guess, have fun, right? You know, that sort of thing. but it would necessarily lead to a bad outcome for them, and I'm putting myself at risk, right? So I've tried more and more not to be a homemaker.
I mean, I hear that term a lot, like, oh, homemaker. Like, again, women control sexual access, so no man can make her a hoe. She's doing that on her own, if that's in fact what she's doing. She's doing that on her own. And like
So
your point,
we disagree here then.
okay, yeah, because well, to your point, you were honest with women and you are honest with women, and that's one of the things I've always been. I'm not gonna lie to a woman. Yeah, it's easier to lie. And there are people out there who will tell you to lie, like just tell them whatever they want to hear so you can get what you want. I don't agree with that philosophy at all. Right. I've never had my, windows smashed out of my car or the tires slashed or keys keyed up or men looking for me because their niece or daughter or cousin is upset. I never had to deal with any of that. I told them the truth. This is how this is going to work. If you don't want to do it, fine. Fine. I'm not, you can go home. Don't come see me because this is all I got for you. All I got is this, you know what I mean? I got this man eating bubblegum and I'm fresh out of bubblegum. So this is your choice. But I was honest and I was upfront. So I didn't have any issues. Now, I did make some bad choices. I did choose some bad women, but that had nothing to do with the initial game. I came away from my game and that's what got me in trouble.
Yeah,
But
no, I got you. But getting right to the point, though, are men not leaders? Are they not the leaders of whatever the proximity is, sex, the date, whatever? Are men not leaders?
men aren't taught to lead anymore.
No.
but
I'm just
are
talking
men-
about biologically, innately.
Bro, I would say yes. But there's a lot of
Right.
people out there that would disagree with me. I would say yes, but I don't know if that really plays. Well, I guess it does, doesn't it? It does play into it.
Well, what I'm saying is this: yes, women are culpable to their decisions. Women are accountable, right? To your point, control whether or not they open up their legs. But with that said, if the man is the leader, and we agree that the man is the leader necessarily, even by the way, even if that looks like him handing over the reins to her, we've seen those relationships, right? Where man is pretty much her bitch. But with that said, if men are the leaders, and they are, then who is more accountable for the interaction? I hear you. Women have to open their legs for it to happen. But my point is that it's still, even if it's 1%, it's still led by men.
I mean, yeah, no, I'm not 100% on board with that. I think when it comes, women have
part?
to be held accountable for the minute they choose to be with, and
They are.
right. Well, not necessarily, because they'll say, "Well, it was his fault because he lied to me, or it was his fault because of this. It was his fault because of that." Like, nah,
Yeah.
baby, you slept with him. You
No,
slept
well,
with
I
him.
agree with you. They are accountable. But when you said they need to be, life will hold you accountable.
That's
It
what you're saying.
does. Right? Eventually, you have the account. It's the math. It all works out.
Yeah, you
Maybe
can't.
not
run
in a
from
good
it.
way, right? We have to live with our decisions, whatever they are, good, bad, in between, turning bad into good, right? Maybe a woman, for instance, was what you and I might refer to as hoey behavior in her early 20s. Let's say she hooked up with 20 dudes in a year, which, by the way, I don't think most women are doing that, but there's definitely some doing it, right? There's a significant amount where that's not out. You're not shocked. You're not like, oh my God. It's like, yeah, I'm not shocked. With
Yeah,
that
bro.
said, it doesn't mean that she can't close her legs. Doesn't mean that she can't sort of damage control, right? Doesn't mean that she needs to accrue another 100, 200 over the next 10 years and then be what I would think would be a miserable woman in her 30s at that point, had she given herself away to that degree. But I'm saying we all are held accountable. But I think I know what you're saying. On the surface, society doesn't seem to hold women as accountable as men, if we're being comparative. But I actually don't think that's wrong, because women innately, we are the protectors, even if, like you're saying, the programming goes against it today. Most men aren't able to or willing to do that. Doesn't change our biology, doesn't change what and who we are as humans.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, because in today's world, because I want to keep tying it back to the topic, because it's so easy to go down these different rabbit holes, and once the panel starts, and it's a wrap. But people are always asking, for advice in this world, and to your point, like, well, asking a single man that could be the wrong person to ask for advice, because people are like, well, because you want to get married. Like, well, not everyone does, but if you do want to get married, if that is your goal, if that's your mission, then you need to talk to someone who's done it. My buddy Jay Swans, he and I were in the same unit. We served together once upon a time, and I've known him for over 30 years, been right there. I was with him when he started his relationship with his now wife. I was there at the beginning. Now, he and I were in the streets doing our thing back in the day, doing what paratroopers do. But I didn't know until 25 years later, when we actually sat down and talked about it, that his whole mission was to find a wife. The stuff that we were doing at Freaknik, the stuff that we were doing, all throughout the Southeast and wherever we were on the planet, he was like, man, that was just me just chilling, having fun. But I always wanted a wife. He always wanted a wife from the time he was a little one, because that's all he saw. His whole world was everyone in his family were married. They stayed married. They made it work. He came from that world. I never knew that part. It blew my mind, because I was chasing what I'd always seen growing up. I grew up seeing people, girlfriend, boyfriend, doing their thing, couples messing around. I grew up seeing that, and I just thought it was funny how we were both products of our environment. But his whole thing was, he was like, I don't just want a wife. It's like, I have to find the right woman, because that is what I need to move forward. And guess what? He found the right woman, and man, they still going strong. Did an outstanding job. Never messed around. They never cheated. They never do anything. They worked so hard at it. Most Americans don't want to work at it. They don't want to work at relationships, be it, long-term relationships. They don't want to even work at being a player. They don't want to do any hard work. They just want it all to come to them. So that's all part of this process as well. And it's easy with these phones, man. With this technology, it's way easier. You don't have to work as hard. But to the original point, anytime I talk about getting married, I tell guys, especially if I know the person talking to me, I'm like, nah, you need to holler at my man Jay Swans. Come on, I'm gonna do a podcast, or come meet us. We're gonna go out and have some beers or whatever. You need to talk to him, because I don't know how to do that. Right? Simple as that. I can get you your notch count up. I can show you how to run a rotation. I can get you out here and get you some situations where you're having threesomes and all that kind of shit. I can show you how to do all that. But to have the wife, I don't know. Maybe you don't want to talk to me about that. Right? So to your point, I think you should listen to everyone and know what you are looking for. Right? I can tell you what not to do if you're looking for a wife. Right?
There's a lot of point. Let me go on the listen to everyone thing. I think that if we were to listen to everyone, right, just everyone to an equal degree, right, the same quality, quantity, that person will be fucked up. That person would be trashed. But I do know what you mean. You mean take the good, leave the bad, right? There's something that everyone has to offer. With that said, I'm not denying that there are some, probably this is more theoretical, but some women who give good dating advice, whether the women are married or not or whatever. But in general, I kind of see it. Look, we were both in the military, so I'm going to use a military analogy. I kind of see it as the Lance corporals, right? The E3s who were, let's just say, in the platoon, whatever, telling the new captain, the new staff sergeant, how to run the platoon. It's not that Lance corporal doesn't know from his perspective how he has been led and how he has interpreted the leadership, but he hasn't actually been the leader, and he doesn't actually know what goes on behind the scenes. He's not in a position to lead. So with that said, I kind of see that as women generally who give men dating advice. I've been on some of the panels where I have heard some of the worst advice. I mean, just terrible. And the women are always like, oh, that was good advice, right? And it's like, nah, that was fucking awful. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's all wrong, all bad. There'll be some general things in there like, take care of yourself. Sure. Be strong, have money, yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, that's pretty basic, be a good man shit, right? But it doesn't get at the crux of the issue. It's usually the men on panels, I can think of maybe 3, who come up there and they're like, oh, I'm having trouble in the dating market. And immediately I'm just laughing. I'm like, yeah, I can see why. Like, you come up here like, how do I put this nicely? I want to be kind of PC moving forward. You come up here acting like a little fucking bitch. And then you're like, oh, I don't know why I'm not having success. Well, if you're a dude that, other men can see just is weak in his own self, his own frame, right? What kind of woman could you possibly attract? Because the women who are also weak like the men, these men in particular, don't want a man like that. They might talk about it on paper, which they do, which is more cope. They'll be like, oh, he's so sweet. He's a nice guy. Yeah, I would date him. And they just fucking lie to him. They just lie to him because it seems like, from their perspective, well, I do want a man to be nice to me. Yeah, I get that. But you don't want a man who's weak. And I know it'll be like, well, don't tell women how they feel. I'm just saying as an observer, as somebody who is, had experiences, that I don't think many women will last in anything longer than the short term with a man who is weak. And weakness can look in many different ways. It can be being very emotional, being hyper emotional, right? Overreacting, yelling. I really generally don't believe in fighting with women. I don't mean physically, obviously that, but I mean verbally fighting with women or yelling at them. I think if it gets to that point, and I'm not talking about the, in the marriage and years down the line. I'm talking about in dating, right? You're within a year and there's yelling happening. You're in a bad relationship because that dude, he isn't able to handle himself because he can't handle her.
Well, he doesn't want to walk away from her. I did a short today about that on my way to watch football. It's first Sunday NFL football, and my team lost. Man, Bengals, we lost our first game. But anyway, I did a quick short about that, and it's don't deal with mean, unfriendly women. Don't do it. But these guys, they'll get a woman because it's so hard to get sexual access for a lot of these men. They're getting that. The woman knows she's a piece of shit. She knows she's a bad person, so she's using her sexuality to hook this guy. And he doesn't have, like you said, the leadership. He doesn't have the balls to walk away. The spine to walk away.
The spine, the balls. I agree with you. But think about this. This is really a self problem. His standards for him are so low. And look, I've been here. So when I say him, they're so low that he's willing to tolerate that out of another person, this woman, whoever it is. And by the way, this is applicable to friends in life, right? Male friend, whatever. But he's so weak in his frame that what you're describing is scarcity, I think I agree with. But nonetheless, it's showing a lack of self-respect for him. And to me, that's more important than whatever the outcome, the perceived outcome is with the woman.
But these outcomes are horrible. You have these weak guys who wind up getting with women. The women becomes the leader. She becomes the alpha. He's the beta, right? A lot of these times, the woman already has kids from another man. So this dude is raising, someone else's children. He doesn't go out and reproduce. He's doing this. And then one day he discovers that she's cheating on him. But of course she is, because you're not what she wants. And then again, instead of just being able to take the L, learn from it and move on, they go do something stupid. You know what I mean? And I mean, it happened at my daughter's middle school. One day I dropped her off at school and,
Yeah, I want to talk about that for a moment.
Okay.
Get into some of the nitty gritty, right? Because a lot of things we're talking about, which I think is good shit. But nonetheless, they are things that, you can hear other places as well. But let's talk about why do you think what you just referenced would be a higher likelihood with men and in the position that you're saying? So, for instance, he gets left by a woman and he's heartbroken and all this shit, right? Why would he go to that degree? Now, I want to answer before you go. My thought, we'll see what you think, maybe something different, maybe similar. here's how I kind of look at it is if he if he really loved her, if we're to use that expression, although that can mean many things to many different people, but here's the litmus that he was willing to, if necessary, obviously this wasn't in your case, your example, but he was willing to put his life on the line. That was the strength of the connection, however you want to put it. And now she left. He kind of feels like he died inside. Reason being, he looks at it like, I would have died for this woman who just left me to find someone else. I mean, inevitably, that's what it is, right? So it kind of makes sense when you think about it like that. And then when you kind of, look back, and obviously every case is different, but where was his standards, his self-respect to misjudge to the degree that he ultimately did, to invest that highly emotionally, let's say, into somebody who clearly it wasn't reciprocal?
Like, bro,
So I put it back on his fault is what I'm getting at.
you putting it back on him. And the way I see it, especially being a man, you really have to guard your emotions. Like, women are really good at dealing with the emotional side of being a human for whatever reason. For guys, you gotta protect it, because when a guy loses control of his emotions, bro, somebody winds up in the forever box, more often than not. Maybe him. Like in that case, this man was with this woman, he's in love with her, he lets his emotions run wild. He's not able to see what's really going on, bro. He has the rose-colored glasses on. This is what men need to learn early on. We talk about, getting advice. You got to talk about this, bro. Keep your emotions in check, because you will lose control. I mean, it is what it is. It's powerful medicine. So this guy is messing with a woman who was probably not the perfect woman for him, not a good woman for him. He was, his not listening to his friends, not listening to his family, gets locked in there. She goes and cheats with the principal. She was a teacher at the school, and she winds up messing around with the principal of the same school. This guy finds out, and his, in his mind state, he's like, well, I'm going to show you, goes up to basically the steps of the school and, and does that, right? He gets right into the forever box right there. And in his mind, he's like, I'm going to show you. And it's like, bro, she didn't care about you in the first place. And dude, did you just give her money? Like, right? Like, does all that insurance money go to her now? Like, what are you doing? But guys need to understand that, bro. But it's on him.
It's
it's
self-hate. Well, think about, and I'm going to let you read this first, and then we'll get back in it.
Maybe cowardice. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily, oh, shoot, Jordan in the building was good. We got Callie in the building. Go ahead.
No. I'm saying I'm going to let you read that first, and then we can get back.
Oh, well, first of all, Don DeMarco to our LA general.
Dom DeMarco.
Shout out to you, brother Jordan. Like, shout out to DL saying men need to get that bitch out of them and find their masculinity again. I agree with that. I left a woman that I love without a second thought, simply because she didn't align with my values. This is a man who understands himself and understands exactly what he's looking for. He's not going to wind up in the forever box like the dude we were just talking about, because that dude didn't understand himself. He didn't know himself. How can he be successful if he didn't know himself? He certainly didn't know the woman he was pursuing, and it cost him. Whereas brother Jordan, like, look, and I'm pretty sure if Jordan tell you, it hurt. It's not like he was doing this thing and it was like, whatever, forget her, I'm fine. I guarantee you it hurt. But as a man, you got to be willing to endure that pain, push through that to get exactly what you're looking for. And this is not taught. This is not taught anywhere. What's your thoughts on that, Base?
Yeah, I think that pain is necessary in many facets, growth, and that men need to embrace pain. And if you're not embracing pain, then I guess the opposite of that would be comfort, right? And that pretty much means you dead.
It could be, bro. And it's
to go just a second further here. When I say you're dead, I just mean you're not going to grow. You're stagnant. You're not developing. You need pain.
You do need pain as men. I mean, again, we grew up outside. We went out and we scraped our knees all the time and we broke bones and we did whatever as boys. But that prepared us as men. You know, say what you want about football. Football will toughen you up. Any sport will. Basketball, baseball. I mean, you're gonna get hurt. And there's so many people out here who believe the world is this pristine, clean place and everyone's nice and everyone follows the rules. Man, our existence is pure chaos. It's pure chaos. Like, look what goes on inside this country. Look what goes on outside of this country. Like, it's insane. But a lot of these young people aren't ready for it. And I think this is why they're having so much trouble in the dating world. They're expecting something that just doesn't exist. Women, ladies, if y'all chase after these bad boys thinking he's going to love you forever and ever and no one else, you are high. Like, if you're into this dude, if he is that high of caliber of a guy, trust and believe every other woman you know is into that same dude. He gets to choose. But, you know, when I tell a woman, like, well, look, baby, why don't you just talk to the guy that's at your level? Like, you're about a 6. Talk to that guy right there. He's a 6. They want to fight. They want to fight. How dare you? What do you mean, how dare me? How dare you? That's the guy that's going to love you. And you know what? Back in the, 60s, 70s, 80s, that's what happened. You didn't have access or perceived access to all these men all over the world. You were pretty much stuck in your town, your city, your state, like your region.
So with all this said, what do you think would be, right, you're talking about women, what do you think would be good advice generally for women? I mean, specifically, like you're saying, women don't go for the bad boy, whatever. And I don't think they realize when they consider, I mean, many times, I don't think they realize when they consider somebody a bad boy. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, this guy I really like or whatever the fuck. I don't know that they put that category on it. But anyways, what would be the general advice that you would give then?
I think women do know that. I would say this is what I say all the time. When guys come to me and they want to talk about dating and we're doing a little coaching or whatever, the first thing I ask them, bro, is like, what's your mission? We can't even talk about it until you tell me exactly what you're looking for, what you're looking to do. Right. And that's just the bottom line. Are you looking for a wife or are you just going out here trying to have sex with women? That's the first thing we need to know. Right. And then once we have that, we can go ahead and start talking about different strategies and different techniques. And those guys are like, well, I just want to go out here and smash a lot of women. The second thing I tell them, like, okay, well, I can help you with that. But here's the thing. You're going to get tired of that. That's going to get old, bro. Trust me when I tell you, it's going to get old. And a lot of guys is like, no way. And then you give them a couple years and they come back like, damn, Unc, you were right. I'm tired of this. This ain't no good. It's like, why? Because these women don't care about me. They don't. Like, that's just it, because you're going after the wrong ones. So you're going to wind up coming back home at some point. But, some guys got to get out their system. Some dudes, they'll rock different chicks until they die. But I think that's a very, very, very small percentage of dudes that'll go out there and just do it. Because chasing women takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. And at the end of the day, it's worthless if you're not trying to have somebody with you. Like when you're sick, if your woman won't come over and make you some soup or come check on you or go run some errands for you because you got the flu. Like, I don't care if you got 30 girls that you rocking at the same time. You lose your money, you lose your clout, or you get sick. None of them girls don't come around and check on you, bro. None of them.
But that's when you realize. You didn't answer the woman advice thing though. Like, what advice would you give women?
I apologize. I missed that part. I would tell women to find out what hypergamy is. Like, just read the definition of hypergamy and what it is to be hypergamous. And I would also challenge women to ask themselves, like, what are you looking for? Because if your goal is to be married and be a mom and a wife and have children and all that, then you need to be focused on that as much as you're focused on getting a degree. You should come out of college, in my opinion, with a ring on your finger. You should come out of college engaged. Like, you're at your peak. A lot of women hate hearing that, but I'm like, when you're out there trying to get the best guy you can get, you're at your peak those college years. Like, you're there. Whatever you come out of college with is probably the best guy you're gonna get. Uh-oh, you don't like that?
Yeah, no. No. So
I think that
You,
they
you
should
you know,
focus on
everyone
that
is.
in their
I,
duty, in the work.
I agree with definitely when you said, women, and this would be applicable to men, is, really think about what you want. And so often I think that people feel like they thought about it and didn't actually think about it. They didn't really think about it through, right? So it's like a half idea. And I think many times this lends towards the short term and is based on emotion. Oh, I feel good right now. I feel good, this week, because of XYZ. And they let that run their decisions too much, right? To actually give thought to, what the condition of yourself, let alone other people, is. So I guess what I'm saying is it seems to me most people are oblivious.
What do you mean by that? They're oblivious.
Meaning they don't actually do what you just said. They don't actually think about very deeply what it is they want. Like what it is they want a woman for, or what it is they want a man for. And because of that, they end up making a bunch of decisions that they, inevitably regret, right? Based on not thinking it through. And it seems many times, maybe more often than not, just rinse and repeat, right? Oh, this shit got fucked up. And instead of looking at themselves, instead of doing introspect and thinking about, well, really, really, why? Why? What did I do? Why was I allowing or, made this turn, whatever it was? Instead, they blame the other person. And it can look like, oh, all women are fucked up. Or it can look like, all men are fucked up. And so really, it's a lack of self-accountability.
I don't think the question comes up, I don't think that they're challenged to do it. Honestly, I think that most young women were told go to college, but get your degree, become independent so you can get your money. But I don't think that anyone like grandma or someone would say, hey, also while you're there, find yourself a good man. I think that this conversation is starting now. I know Ebony K. Williams said that on one of her podcasts, and she's the one who said, I would only marry the bus driver if he owns the bus company. This is a very successful Black woman. She was an attorney, media personality. She's done really well for herself, but she couldn't get the guy that she wanted to marry. She couldn't get any of those dudes to marry her. So she thawed out some of her eggs and impregnated herself with money, of course. And now she has a baby. So, but she said it. She said, she was talking to the Black community. She's like, when these sisters go to college, they should be trying to lock down their men, because she's like, because your white counterparts are doing that. And I think it was her show or it was someone else's show where they were showing all these videos of, women graduating and they had rings on their fingers. So it's like, not only did they get their degree, but they also got, the man of their dreams, got themselves a husband. But once you move on beyond that and you chase your career, you establish yourself financially, you do all those things, now you're not the most sought after woman. And if you're still going after the top tier guys, it's just going to hurt her in the long run. And like Ebony K. Williams, you wind up throwing out your eggs and getting yourself pregnant, and you're going to raise a child on your own by choice, which I think that's a problem as well.
And, this comment here from Jessica, I was actually going to mention this. Getting married for the sake of getting married, I don't think is a good thing. But on the other hand, I do agree that generally, society would be better off if, and not just society, but the individuals in many cases, to have a mindset for, family, marriage, rather than, whatever it is, I want to run through women or I want to get run through by men, and then I'll figure it out later type of shit. And I think obviously more heavily that weighs on women getting, run through rather than men doing it, right? As far as the consequence perception by the other sex, right? Men care about bodies generally. I mean, even if they don't say it, even if they don't know, if they realize that she's a hoe at some point later, just like you were talking about earlier, A lot of times they're just like, this is fucked, right?
Yeah, can you
And
put our
for
brother?
women,
Can you put our
what's
brother
up?
Lou's? Can you put our brother Lou? His comment there.
Right
See
here.
it? No, the one is one that just came out. It's probably down a little bit. It starts with avoiding marriage for the sake of avoiding marriage has proven to be a bad idea for all of us. So that's just the flip side to that. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Says getting married just because you think you got to get married could in fact be a bad idea. But maybe that person didn't think about it. Like you got to think about it. If you want to be married, should not be a priority. Which is more important in your opinion? Getting a degree, finishing your school, your university schoolwork, or finding someone that you love that's willing to marry you and you want to marry them. Which one you think would be more important?
Well, I don't even think degrees are particularly important. So
Facts.
this would be an easy answer. Unless you're planning on having a career that requires the degree. Obviously, some do. You can't become a doctor or lawyer in all, or at least most states, unless you have a 4-year or doctorate, whatever. So, yeah, I would definitely say it would make sense to find, your counterpart or something to that effect. But again, this is where it gets complicated because most people, if we're talking about most people in their 20s, men and women, but I would say particularly men, are definitely not ready for that shit. I'm not saying they can't do it, they can do it. But what do we see the results of that? High divorce rate, as it would be, other issues. We don't need to get into all the nuance, but I don't see it as a solution per se. Like people, just get married. If we had more marriages, it's like saying if we have more kids. Yet overall, I don't think kids in America are doing too well. Right,
Yeah,
the reflection of women, reflection of men, and they're not doing very well. So how possibly could kids be doing well? So my point would be looking at the opposite end. The actual core, as I see it, that people getting better will necessarily lead to those favorable results. So trying to prioritize the result, i.e., well, you should get married when you're young, or we need more people getting married, isn't going to solve the core issues. The core issues are with people. And I think it goes back to what we were already talking about, which is standards. Men have very low standards for themselves overall. We can look at one nuance out of all of life, but probably the most serious, health. Most men in their 20s are not taking care of themselves.
That's a
Proof.
good point.
Here's some proof. Looking at BMI index, right? I could look up a study sample here. I'm technically, this is not an exaggeration, I'm technically in the top 1% for body fat, for composition for men. That's ridiculous. I'm not even in that great of shape. And what I mean by that is, relative to men today, I'm in pretty good shape. But men today are fucked up. So it's like a bad comparison. You see what I mean?
I'm with you. I mean, yeah. And to fill the record, guys, I'm no advocate for marriage. I tell most dudes, like, bro, you need to think about it. It's really bad for people who don't for people who have something to lose. It's really bad to get married to someone because you could lose half or more of your stuff. So it's just the way the laws are written. It's nothing to do with the commitment or being with someone, but the laws are just in such a state that I don't recommend it. However, if you are a young woman and you want a committed relationship, that was the answer to that question. That's what I would tell young women. Do that, secure that guy when you're like at your peak. Now, like to your point, you're probably not going to want to, like if you're a 22-year-old girl, you lock in with a 22-year-old boy, he hasn't done the work yet. So you're actually taking a gamble on this guy. Like you chose this dude, he hasn't really done the work yet. It takes time for a man to do the work.
So going back pragmatically, I agree with you, right? Get a man when you're at your peak, right? So you would say probably like 23 years old. Let's just say around there.
Somewhere in there.
Although
18 to 26.
Okay. Although I can agree with you pragmatically, there could be many outside variable reasons why it might be sooner, might be later. And that's again why I would say that surface general dating advice is kind of meh. because there are many exceptions to the rule.
Yes.
But generally, in a pragmatic way, I agree with you. Right? Cash in your chips when you're at your highest winnings.
Yes. And
But
this,
but what if she ends up with I'm just saying, for example, a douchebag dude who is in good shape and does have good money or whatever, these different surface resources on paper, he's the best she can do. And she says, okay, I'm going to cash in on this dude. But at heart, he's sort of a piece of shit. Let's just say that. Right? He's planning on leaving her. He's lying to her, has secret concubines, whatever the case. That it doesn't mean that the dude that on paper is less than him, but was what we could refer to as a good man, right? If there is such a thing, that she wouldn't have been better off with him 2 years later when she wasn't at her peak, and that would have worked. So I'm just saying that I don't think it's just as simple as cash in your chips when they're the highest, right? Women, if you're going to get married due to 23 or between, whatever age range you just said, I think there's more to it than that. Otherwise, it's just, back to the contract. Well, I'm this age and I'm technically at my peak. Not that they would even know. But, and now I should settle down because this man in my life, he is good on paper. And I've known him a year.
yeah. I mean, of course, when you throw something out there, like that's for the broad masses, I would say best practices, try to lock in a good guy when you're at your peak. You want to get that done, like while you're in college, right? Just best practice. But like you said, okay, there are women out there who, all right, I became a doctor. It took longer for me to get out of college. Now I'm in my early 30s. What about me, Uncle Saint? Like, well, babe, shoot your shot at the top tier guys. Shoot your shot at the guys on your level and above, right? Because now you up there. You're in the single digit percentile, right? Understand you're probably not going to be successful. Don't waste the rest of your life chasing after guys you might not be able to get and start to look down. And this is what women don't like to hear. And it's like, babe, you're up there. You're up there. You're making $200,000 a year, let's say. You have all this education. You're up there. You have become the man that you've always wanted to marry. Shout out to Rollo Tomasi. He says that all the time, right? So understand where you are. And all right, I tried to get these guys. They're not willing to let me get the relationship that I want on my terms. Why? Because these dudes are so highly sought after. So let me stop shooting at the top 5% of men. Let me go ahead and start shooting down here at the top, maybe 15, 20% of guys. Let me try that. Damn, that's not working either. Okay, let me go down here. Right. So you just you got to kind of go down a little bit because you have done so well that you have kind of priced yourself out of the market. There's some really good guys down there. There are women out there who are making $200,000 a year or whatever. They're still attractive. They've done no upgrades. They just worked out, they eat right. They're beautiful women, no kids, and they will turn their nose up at a guy who's a plumber, or they'll turn their nose up at a guy who owns a junkyard. Right. And these are guys who are they got nice businesses. And it's like, okay, you make 200,000, he makes 180,000, but you won't be with him. And it's like, that's a problem, sis. And I've talked to women on my platform and I say, hey, this guy checks every box except for one. He doesn't earn as much as you. Will you still be with that guy, marry that guy, have a relationship with that guy? And most of them say no. Nah, he has to make the money. And I think that's one of the biggest problems today. In our society,
what we value, right? We value the superficial, and there is a relationship between men and women in that. In some terms, it seems that to what you're talking about, there are plenty of superficial women out there, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a filter. But for the superficial man, maybe that is exactly what he needs, what he deserves. So I have a few of these little quick clip picks pulled up here just to see what we think about them. The problem with this generation of men is that men are listening to dating advice from single, miserable men instead of happily married men. I'll let you go first on that.
I would say that that she's off. That part about the single men being miserable, nah. Like the guys who are out there giving dating advice are the guys, most of those dudes are the dudes out there smashing multiple women. They're sleeping with different women, every day, every other day. They've leveled up, so they have money. They're living a lifestyle they want to live. Those guys are not miserable, right? And another thing to realize too is a lot of those dudes, they were divorced men, so they got ran through the family court system and just got destroyed. So they're not necessarily miserable. So I don't agree with that part, but I do believe that men need to talk to guys who are successfully married. And you look at the marriage rates, bro, like, almost half of marriage. We agree on that number. Half of marriages in America end in divorce. And of the half that don't get divorced, a good quarter of those people are miserable. And they're like living in separate homes. They have these, arrangements where they can do their thing with other people or whatever. So when you look at the success rate to a marriage in today's world, you're probably looking at, I don't know, maybe 40%, 35% are actually happily married.
I think that's high.
You think it's high? Wow.
Yeah. So let me answer this real quick. I would say yes to this. I'm going to go the other way, but I'll say not just to this, but I think that from single men and single women, people on the dating market, so to speak, are listening to way too much bullshit. So with that said, I get your example, right? You're thinking maybe in the red pill sector of there's these dating coaches, maybe yourself included, who, pulling women, right? This sort of thing. I don't think that, makes one happy or not happy if happiness is the metric. And that's the metric that this person who I cut off her name, that's what she's getting at. So happily married. Well, I don't see how it could be more than 10%. I don't
actually happily married. Wow.
Yeah, I don't see how it could possibly be. And we could run stats overlapping of so many different metrics that wouldn't in and of themselves say, hey, you're unhappy. But if we look at the average income mixed with the average living expense, mixed with the average for health when it comes to obesity in one facet and many other health metrics, I don't see how that's possible. And again, most people suck. Not all. That's why I have this show here. But most people obviously not doing too well, not very happy with themselves. Therefore, how could they possibly be happy in the long term? And by the way, I don't think that happiness is even a metric for men that should be discussed. We talk about happiness. That's a temporary state of being. I know that women typically push back on me in terms of how apparently they think of the world, that happiness does matter. And I accept that. I'm not pushing back on women. But I am saying for men, when they have this metric of happiness, I think it's totally full of shit. I think that peace would be the only thing you could strive for, and that has to come from the inside. So it can't even be, I'm not saying that it's not correlated to marriage, right? If you're a happy man and you're in a good relationship, right? I said happy man, right? If you're a good man and you're at peace with yourself, right? And in a good relationship and your wife is happy, so to speak, then, I think that's super cool. But I also think it's pretty fucking rare.
I think it's rare. I think 10%, bro. I can't buy onto that. It's like, God dang, you know what I mean? I would say a third. I would say we're just making up numbers here, but I would say of all the people, like of all the marriages in America, I would say a third of those are what we can call successful / happy. But I would put emphasis on the success part. The people who they really meant the words that they said. You know what I mean? Forsaking all others, sickness and health, rich or poor, they really meant those words. I would say a third. And that's a bad bet. You know what I mean? Like
I think you're generous. And I think that the distinguishment might be how we think of it, our anecdotes, as well as perhaps our standards. And I'm not saying that your standards are lesser than mine, but I kind of am saying that in terms of how I look at it.
I got airborne.
And it's not a dig at you. It's just a dig at sort of humanity. and myself included. There's things that I can do better that I'm not doing better in. So I accept your percentage. Let's move on. Next, if you take dating advice from unmarried men, you will be as unhappy and as single as they are. The blind leading the blind. And I think you just hit on this really with what you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is this: take what works for you. Right? That's all I'm saying. You can listen to what these single dudes have to say, right? Because I know a lot of dudes, a lot of men who are married, been married a couple times, and they're miserable, but they keep doing it. So I listen to them too. I listen to them. It's like, well, shit, I don't want to do what he's doing. You're right, because that's stupid. So you gotta kind of weigh it out. Take what's good for you, leave the rest. But whenever I had these conversations on different platforms, people point that out, like, well, are you married? Like, no. Have you? You're probably just bitter because you're divorced. I'm like, I've never been married. I never will be married. But I look at marriage as the legal part of that. Why would I sign that contract? That's just a bad contract to sign. I'm not going to do that unless someone like Oprah, right? Somebody with Halle Berry money wants to holler at me. Then I'm like, all right, cool. I got nothing to lose in this situation. I'll give it a shot. Look, J-Lo. She's single now. What's up, J-Lo? J-Lo, hola. Come holler at me. You want to get married? I'll marry you, baby. Because there's nothing that I'm going to lose.
Yeah. I think this is where discretion for men is needed. I'm not completely in the camp of, you're talking about the risk of marriage. I totally understand. But what I'm saying is this is where man living in reality needs to really, really take a look at surroundings, needs to really understand the risk that they're taking on. And with that discretion, make whatever choice they want to make. For some men, that does mean getting married and legally married, despite the risk that we are understanding, right? The reality of the situation. With that said, it's not a binary to me. Get married, don't get married legally. But I certainly understand why men would choose not to get legally married. So let me pull up the next one here. That wasn't it. I want to see what we think on this. Do not date while you're broke, in terrible shape, or your life is chaotic. First, get your life in order. What do you think there?
I like you should get your life in order. I wouldn't, as far as being broke, I was at my peak when it came to womanizing when I was broke. The more money I made, the less dating I did. Right. So before I got into the FA, like from the time when I got out of the Army, waiting to get into the FA, that 4-year period, man, I ran numbers like I never ran before. And I was broke, in comparison to where I was, 10 years after that.
So this advice here, I guess it's advice, right? Mm-hmm. Is sort of interesting. In terrible shape. I agree with that for men and women. If you're in terrible shape, whatever that means, right? We could define it, but we'll just say terrible shape. Then yeah, it's a strange time to be dating for you if you're in terrible shape, right? Because you're going to get somebody else in terrible shape, and then there'll be two of you in terrible shape. What the fuck good is that? Well, let's look at reproduction. Probably not a good foundation, right? We're in terrible shape and we're going to have kids. There's a lot of problems that can come with that, including what should be the first and foremost, the health of your kids. So I think that one applicable to both men and women. You're broke. I get what you're saying. With that said, I also, I guess, right as we just talked about, I don't even agree with your premise of going out homemaking as I would look at it. So if we're talking about,
for the record, I didn't make any hoes. They were already full blown hoes when I met them. I'm just letting you know, bro. I didn't make.
Well, look, you further degenerated them, and I've been there, so I'm with you. But that's what happened. When you say, or when they say you're broke, I would say the idea of, if we're to look at dating into long term, right? Being broke as a man doesn't mean that he will be broke, right? He may have potential, obviously. But not the best starting point, but not necessarily a deal breaker. For women, I think it's fucking moot. Whether she's broke or not really shouldn't play much of an impact. Now, the last part, your life is chaotic. Yeah, I think definitely if you're a man and you don't have a hold of your shit, you could say that your life is chaotic. The idea of dating towards a long-term relationship, not generally a good idea, right? Your mileage may vary, but wouldn't be a prime example of, oh, I'm ready to date now because my life is fucked up. Like, no, I think you should get your life in order first, or to a better degree than your life is chaotic. As far as women go, I mean, I think that's kind of true, but here's the distinction that I don't think many people will like. Um, but I think in some term, a solid dude can sort of bring some of that chaos out of a woman's life through good leadership. I think that that is possible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, we'd have to define, get into the nuance, but I'm just saying I don't think that's necessarily equal between men and women. But nonetheless, if your shit is chaotic, that's what you're bringing to the relationship is chaos.
Yeah, I think Legends brought up a good point in the chat when he was like, "Hey, does this apply for women or for men? Because there is a difference." And like we said, like the broke thing, I wasn't trying to have a relationship, so it didn't matter that I was broke. I was running my game. I got what I wanted. It was fun. It was fine. Didn't make any hoes though. Like I said, I was running with the hoes. Didn't make any. So that was the thing. But for a guy, you definitely don't want to. You want to have your body together. The chaos thing for guys. I tell dudes all the time, like, bro, if your life is out of sorts right now, like if you're going through something traumatic, if you're going through some sort of court process, be it family law or maybe some legal troubles or tax trouble, if you're having problems with those close to you with your family or whatever, or with your kids or whatever, don't be out here trying to date. Stay home, because your head got to be in the game. People keep saying, "We ain't about the game." Like, no. This is the most dangerous game you're ever gonna play. Your head's got to be in the game, 100%. And if you go out here and your head ain't right, you might do something that'll really jack you up down the road. So I tell guys all the time, women, I mean, our society is set up in such a way that women aren't really held to the account, really. I mean, people tend to forgive them for some of the things that they do. Is not necessarily your fault. It is what it is. That's how it seems to me.
Yeah, but in the short term, I know what you're saying. On the surface, in the short term, you can argue that society sort of pads women from what you see as accountability. I mean, that's how I would interpret it, and I would agree with you. However, in the longer term, reality comes for everyone. Accountability comes for everyone. Now, might not be when you want to see it or how you want to see it, right? Whether it's accountability or you look at life in terms of karma. But I'm just saying, nobody escapes.
I see. I'm with you on that. Like you said, it may take a while. You know what I mean? That, her payback might be in the form of now she's childless and she always wanted kids or whatever. I get where you're coming from. But I think that people, that last bit about having your head right, I do agree with that. And that definitely goes for both sexes. But the overweight thing, bro, I mean, most dudes are with obese women today. Well, I'm not gonna say most, but there's a good number of men out there who are in way better shape than their significant other. So, but it's not as many men out there in the same situation. In other words, women ain't gonna tolerate a fat dude most of the time, but dudes tolerate fat women almost all the time. It seems. It's just crazy. So, I mean, there's that.
So, do you want to read this one here? This is the last one we got.
Public service announcement for single men: never take dating advice from a woman, married or not. I see where they're coming from, but I don't necessarily agree with it, bro. I want to hear what you have to say, but I'm, definitely that whatever a female dating coach has to say to me as weighted. I'm listening to it like, baby, you ain't never chased women, especially if she's beautiful. You got a woman out there. I did a show a week ago, maybe a week or so ago. There was this woman who allegedly gets $1,000 an hour as a dating coach.
Yeah.
Not the dude that you was talking about, but there's this beautiful woman. And I'm like, yeah, dudes are paying her so they can talk to her.
I think I saw you review that or talk about it.
Yeah, you were in the chat that day. Like, Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, how much? And I think was it Jody? Maybe Jody told us. Somebody in the chat was like, yo, she gets $1,000 an hour. It blew my mind. But I mean, that's just the game, bro. So what is she saying that makes sense? Like, can she say, here's a piece of advice, men should do X, Y, and Z. Like, okay, that makes sense. But she's never had to do these things. She's never chased a woman as a man. So she has no idea how, in my opinion, to really advise a guy. Now, if she's saying, listen, there were men who came after me and they used this technique, and I always shun those guys. I prefer the guys who came after me using this technique. Okay, that's good information to have. I might be able to use that as I'm out here doing my thing, and I can adjust on the fly sort of thing. But I mean, it's real tough for women to give effective dating advice to a man, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It's possible. Just I've never seen much that was very good. And I did just open up the panel, and it looks like somebody took no time.
You just jump right up in there.
I'm
Yeah,
right
what up?
there
What up, Crispy?
with my great advice, with my great
Your
dating
great
Lord.
advice.
advices. Yeah.
My ask somebody what's in their grocery cart. That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
For dating, like to break the ice, you're saying ask them what's that in your grocery cart?
Yeah, like to ask them like how to make something, or if that brand is good, or just
It can be. It can be,
Yeah.
but I think the delivery is more important than whether or not it had anything to do with the grocery cart.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, not
And if-
everybody's got those baby blue eyes based, so that's not everybody's got that. There's
A
that-
short, fat, weird, uncomfortable dude comes up to your grocery cart asking you what's in that grocery cart, man, you're gonna walk away fast. I'm just letting you know.
I mean, maybe, yeah. But like I would be nice about it though. I would be nice if they were genuinely trying to ask me a question about something that was in my grocery cart. And people have done that before. And they never like followed through with anything. I think they were really just trying to ask me something about something in my grocery cart. But
I'm just the weirdos. As soon as the weirdo says that, you're gonna be like, yes, that's black powder, and you're out of there like run.
ooh.
That's how fast you'll be out of there, girl.
Yeah, with that
So-
kind of ominous
so
music,
Izzy-
I would be.
Izzy says 3 single people on panel. It's illegal.
Let's get some married folks up here. The thing is this: my biggest issue with people who are married trying to give advice to those of us in the dating game right now, in the sexual marketplace. Like, guys, you married guys have no idea what it's like, especially those guys have been married, 15, 20, 30 years. The game has changed so dramatically. It blows my mind every time I think about it. We were out last night. I've never seen so many single women out in an establishment by themselves. They're in groups of 3 and 5 and 8 and 2, and they're buying their own bottles. They're all over the place. Not a dude in sight. Right? And then they're like, some of the people like, hey man, how come you're not talking to these women? Like, not my type. None of them. There's no woman in here that I want to talk to. And if I were to speak to any of these women, it's just because I want them to come to one of my promotions. Right? Because you're starting to hear that more and more now. Women are like, how come no men are approaching us? It's a lot of reasons for this.
Well,
Yeah.
that Me Too movement, that might be one of them.
And here's one thing I didn't speak on since we made this stream, right? Because I did as the usual, I winged it. But with that said, is there's a big distinction between single people, in terms of how they became or are single, right? There's plenty of men who are single who have told me on stream, on panel, oh, I really want a girlfriend, this type of shit. Hey, Crispy, you got some feedback.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So anyways, talking about their thirst, their scarce, however you want to put that. That's one facet, right, of single men. There's others who are not looking, right? There's some who are newly single, right? There's all different facets. And sort of my point in creating this stream is that, one, I don't believe in dating advice generally, right? I think the dating advice best heard is to yourself, meaning, if you're on panel, for instance, saying, I want to get a girlfriend, then that means you have a bunch of work to do on you. That's how I would interpret that. And it has nothing to do with dating, right? You're in this desperate state. oh, the most important thing is that I find a woman. Like, that to me just shows that you have a problem that has nothing to do with women. I know the surface suggests that, you want a woman, right? I want a girlfriend. But that's not really what's going on. What's going on is that you're fucking lost and you want some foundation that is built upon a woman. And by doing that, by making it someone outside of yourself rather than you, you're already fucked. So even if you do get the woman, good luck to that shit. Good luck to that relationship.
I mean, listen.
I know, and you're coming from the dating coach guy, so.
Well, a lot of dudes that I've come across, right? A lot of dudes, if they're asking for help or whatever, they were following advice that they got from someone who's married most of the time. They were following the advice from, mom or dad or aunt or uncle or, Mr. Jones across the way. They were following that advice and getting mauled in today's world. So when I'm talking to folks, people like to call it advice. So I'm just letting you know what's going on today. This is what's happening right now in the sexual marketplace. That's all I'm telling you. Right. So if you want to go meet some girl that you met online and you had to pay $50 to get her to respond to your text message or whatever on Instagram, and then she decides she's going to let you take her out and you bring her $100 worth of flowers and take her, on $1,000 dinner date. Like, bro, that's not going to work for you, homie. That's you're doing too much. You're doing too much. But these guys, they're like, well, you just got to fight through it, do whatever it takes, win her heart. That ain't the game no more. It's way different.
And Crispy, I know that you were married for years and now you're a widow.
Mhm.
What do you have to say on something? I mean, obviously, DL and I have gone back and forth on quite a bit of nuance when it comes to the subject of dating. Is there places that you found yourself disagreeing, or?
I just got here, so I was tied.
All right, that's enough of Crispy.
Why you beating up on Sister Crispy?
So
well, it's fine. Do you have any input when it comes to dating from your perspective, right?
Yeah.
Having been married, I don't know if you want to say how long or any, whatever you want to say
A very
is fine
long
or not.
time. Yeah,
Okay.
like almost 18 years. So
Wow.
long time.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, can I ask you to cut
Sure.
you off real quick? In a sense, do you, and I'm not trying to get too deep, I'm just trying to get your mindset. Do you still view yourself as married to a degree? And I don't mean that in any kind of negative way. I'm just saying, do you view that the relationship has not ended, although it has physically, or?
Yeah, I've had a hard I've had a hard time with it. Yeah. So, um ah yeah, I've had a hard time with it. So, I haven't really, I mean, I haven't gone out and dated or anything like that. I mean, people have asked me out. I just haven't done it.
Mhm.
So, and then yeah, so I've had a difficult time with it. But
Okay.
yeah.
Well, look, you got two single men, so useless on panel, but nonetheless, feel free to, say what you think about, dating today, or your position or your thoughts, right?
Well,
You got open forum.
yeah. I mean, I think that, see, just with my line of work, I sell wine and spirits, so I'm in a lot of these venues
Like
where,
bars,
yeah.
or? Okay.
Yeah, but I sell to stadiums and concerts and big places, but also like big nightclubs and things like that as well. So I'm in a lot of those places. I run promotions in them, and
Mm.
the whole thing. So,
And what do you observe, or what can you point out? Maybe you can
oh,
tell DL and I some things that we don't know, or maybe just from your perspective.
I mean, I think that there's seems to be kind of, DL's right about that these girls are out in packs, and so that can be intimidating, I think, for somebody to go up to ladies that are all in a pack.
I agree.
And I think that can be problematic for girls. I just It's just what I've noticed.
So I'm going to cut you off again. One of the last times I was out, I'll give a little anecdote here, is I saw somebody that I knew. I didn't know her that well, and but we had worked together in the past, and I saw her at this place I was at, and I was just kind of surprised given proximity and such. And anyways, so she comes and sits down on, I was at like a bar restaurant. On the other side of the bar is me, and she had a friend with her, and her friend was pretty attractive. I think most dudes would be like, she's hot, and very thirsty dudes would be like, she's a 10, this type of shit. And anyways, again, I'm never out looking to, mingle with women or men platonic. I'm not in it. I don't care. So with that said, as soon as she sat down on the other side, I was just kind of staring at her, not in a weird way, but you know what I mean? Just like, hey, I recognize you. And she just kind of smiled, waved, whatever. Now, I normally don't, right, because of what I just said, I don't buy women drinks. I don't go out doing that shit. Don't believe in it for the most part. But with that said, this is somebody I knew a little bit, like we were on friendly terms. I'm not trying to get with her, like at all. So I told the bartender, get her a drink on me. So anyways, I was about to leave, and I get up, and I was talking to the dude next to me, some guy I see here and there. And I guess he thinks of us as friends. He bought me a drink, which was cool. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go. Actually, he said about her friend, he says, oh, she's the hottest one in here, this type of thing. So anyways, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go talk to them for a second. And by the time I got up, the one that I knew was gone, and it was just her friend. And I got up and I start walking over, and I was like, oh, shit. So anyways, I just went up to the friend, and I go around the back the way it was, open bar outside, and I was kind of like, hey. And she turned around, and she didn't look too friendly at first, you know what I mean? She's kind of like, oh, what do you want, this type of thing. But anyways, I don't think anything of it, and I was just like, yeah, hey, tell your friend, I'm not going to say her name, but tell her I said, hey, whatever. Anyways, at that point, her whole facial expression changed, and she was like, oh, well, do you want to wait for her to come back? Do you want to sit down? And I was like, no, I'm good. I got to go. And she's like, oh, well, nice meeting. And I'm just saying this to just say it's kind of funny. To your point, I don't like going up to groups of women, period. Not that this was a group. I get it. I knew one of them, and she wasn't there, so now it was one. But, it's this perfect stranger woman, and as some of the dudes were saying, the hottest woman in the bar. And yet, when I first approached, she's like, what do you want? Like this type of thing. And I'm just me, I'm not feeling defensive or any type of way. And now within, 10 seconds, she's like, oh, come sit down with us. And I didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't, because I was like, nah, I'm out of here. Just tell her. And I took off.
There's a way to approach a group. And that, again, this is all part of the game. People are like, well, how do you handle that? It's not as hard as people think it is to approach a group of women. And all you got to do, you got to observe for a little bit, see what's going on, find out who, like, you want to approach the least attractive one, the one who gets the least amount of attention. That's the one you want to go up to. You start there. No, but here's the thing. The reason you do that.
I know what you're saying.
Well, you don't walk up to her like you're trying to approach her like you want to holler at her. You talk to her like you're talking to a dude, basically. What she's going to be is your intel. She's going to give you all the intel. She becomes your friend. You're giving her attention because we all want attention. Women love attention.
I know what you're saying. It's kind of gamey. It's sort of indirect.
100%.
I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I agree with you. That may very well work. Not the way I would. Hey, what up, Cynthia?
Cynthia's in the building. What's good, sis?
What up, homies? What's going on?
Hey,
I came up, chica. I came up to give you love.
You're sweet.
You didn't give me no love, baby. Damn.
What up, homies? I said, what up? What do y'all got
We
going
get that hardcore. See, just like Sister Cynthia did it. That's how you got to come up like, what's up? I'm giving you some what's up, homie love. And then she, that least attractive woman would tell you what's up with everybody. She's single. She's a 304. Like, she's real loose. That one over there is crazy. That one over there is nice. You should meet. You should go talk to that one. She's nice, bro. That's the way you do it. But you have to be able to have conversations. You got to know how to break the ice. A lot of dudes don't know how to do that. That's one of the biggest issues out here in this dating world. These guys just don't know how to interact with people. And that's
and I would say being disassociated, disattached with the outcome, right? If you do want to pursue that sort of stuff, not being so attached to Oh, how is she going to perceive me? What should be my opening line? Like this type of weird shit. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, just be a normal human and you'll probably do better in the long run than if, and this is again probably where you and I disagree on some plane, DL, than if you're working on that game sort of thing.
I was gonna say too that the other thing I noticed that girls do or don't do is they don't smile. They like, I've got a resting bitch face, and I don't mean to,
Me
but
too.
I do. And so
I feel you.
yeah, and so I noticed that one time, like when one of my I have really beautiful girlfriends, and one of my friends always like always would get hit on, and and my other girlfriend and I, we were like, what is wrong with us? Like, why doesn't anybody approach us? Well, we figured out is because she's real smiley, and then we look like bitches because we just had that look on our face, even though we're not. We look like that. So I would say that females need to smile a little bit more and be more approachable.
And there's game for that.
Real quick, how are you today, Richard?
Peace and respect, everyone.
Brother Richard, what's good?
Hi, Richard.
What's good? Good is whatever's beneficial to the human animal.
That's what's up.
You're always
But
going to get that
that's just a
literal.
greeting. Yeah, that's just a
Yeah.
greeting. That's me saying
Oh,
hi.
sorry. but just for you, DL, yabo.
That's what's up. So, girls who look mean, I approach them a lot when they're in groups. You have fun with it. Sometimes you walk up and it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and they're like, "Why?" I'm like, "You look like I just took your last piece of candy." Oh no, I don't mean to look that way. Boom, you're in a conversation.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just a conversation. And when I go out now, I'm not on a hunt like I used to be when I was younger. I'm really just looking for a good conversation. I'm hoping to make some connections so I can invite them to events. That's all I'm looking for. To base point, I'm not.
But don't go up and ask them to smile. Like, don't say,
No, don't say that.
Or smile. It's
No,
not
don't say
that
that.
bad. Like, shut the
I know what
fuck
you're
up.
saying, like in a
irritates me.
cheesy way. I've had women sort of do that at times. I can recall, and
Women
I
can
was
do that.
just annoyed by them. I know,
I'm
but I
annoyed by that
don't.
too.
I'm just like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You know.
Don't tell me to smile.
But
Like,
but
no,
here's the
I'm
other
good.
thing. It depends on how. I mean, really, if they do it in sort of a Karenish way, then I'm really like, put off. I'm just like, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
But if it's maybe in a way, I don't know how I would describe it, but in a way that is like sort of docile, sincere, then it would probably be an opposite reaction.
Right.
But it really boils down to just interacting with other humans. I had a guy that can sing. Like this brother has a voice. Like he can really sing. So when he would see a group of women frowning or whatever, he would walk up and there's a song by Shanice, is a R&B artist from back in the day, and she had a song called "I Love Your Smile." So he would walk up and just start singing "I Love Your Smile," and that's
Oh,
it.
Lord.
And I mean, but the way he did it, and he could really sing, man, it worked every time. It was a home run every time.
Yeah.
Now, I would never do that, Jack. I would never do that because I can't sing, but I tell jokes. Right? So I'll go up and I'll run.
Well,
I'll run
funny
5
is
minutes.
really important. Funny will get. I will talk to you forever if you're funny.
And that's the thing is, like you just said, DL, I would never do that. But for some dudes, like be yourself in terms of. Right, I know that this old trope and said many different ways, interpreted different ways, but really, if it's akin to you, if it's natural to you, then it'll probably come out right. If you're trying to force the shit, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's a ton of people that will come up and say, "Smile, it's not that bad." And it's like, what? Stop! Like, now you just made me in the worst. Like, no. And I swear there are so many dudes say that. So that's why I know I've got a resting bitch face, because so many people
Nice.
say that to me.
So, Richard, did you have any thoughts in general or particularly?
No, I just like hanging out with you guys.
That makes sense.
Appreciate it.
I like hanging out with me too.
Yeah.
So
I don't blame
so
you.
brother
I mean, I don't
brother
blame you.
Richard, are you married or in a relationship? If I can ask.
Oh, I'm well. Lately, for the last decade, I'm a monk. but I was married for 17 years.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So the beginning of that relationship, bro, how did that work for you? Like, getting to know, because we're just kind of curious. Like, so would should people take advice from a man like you who has been married and it did the stuff, as opposed to someone like me who's never been married, never will be married? And
I can tell you about all the mistakes I made. I know what they were.
but
Okay.
even before the
No, I want to hear the mistakes.
I do too.
But real quick before you get into that, what was your mindset growing up? Did you want to womanize, or did you were just looking for a wife?
Oh, wife and kids from the age I was 13. That's all I ever wanted. It's all I want now.
Oh wow.
Oh,
I've
okay.
never heard that in my life. Out of a man.
I have. There are a lot of men out there that's all they want. That's real
Well,
talk.
well, hold on. What he's also saying is, I want a family.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would disagree, in terms of I've never heard that. I mean, from my perspective, although the word nuance, but I mean, really, it's the same thing. He's saying that family, is core importance to me, and I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that there is
Oh,
a
it's
natural.
amazing. I think that's great.
Well, yeah, and I didn't mean that you were saying it was wrong. What I meant is that I think it's intrinsic to us as human beings, right? Not just in the biological, pragmatic, reproduce, pass on our DNA, right? But in a sense, also, could you use the word love, Richard?
To describe what?
No, well, you say I always wanted to have a wife and kids from 13, right? The love of that, not just the pragmaticism, but I'm not trying to speak for you. I'm
Oh,
asking.
even when I was 13, I just had a great appreciation for young people, and there's nothing I respect more than the innocence of a child. And I think the most horrific thing on the earth is people who lie to children.
Yeah. So brother Richard, when you met your wife, and again, you don't have to answer this, so I'm just curious.
Open book.
How did
man.
you guys meet? Oh, cool. That's great. I'm the same way. How did you guys meet? Did you have help from like the village, the community, the church, your parents, or did you have to just met her on your own travels and y'all kind of went from there?
I was 17. She was 26.
Ooh.
There was a wrecked motorcycle in her front yard. I figured I could go half with my best friend and get it fixed up, and we'd have a motorcycle. But what answered the door was thin and tall and blonde and cute, and shoot, man, I didn't care about the motorcycle anymore. Forgot all about it,
Wow.
So what did you do with the motorcycle? Did you still did you still want to try and fix it up, and you just kept coming to her
It wasn't
house?
for sale. I mean, I managed to. I was 17. She was 25. I managed the sentence, and she said, "Oh, my cousin's coming back to pick it up, and it's not for sale." But she invited me in for a glass of tea. So,
wow. So did your family approve, disapprove? Because that age gap, I mean, for a 17-year-old, out here dealing with a real woman, like I'm sure your homeboys would be like, you the man. But we're like, well, the family members or the older members of the family kind of like cautious, like, hey man, pump the brakes.
only everybody. And by the way, they were right. And no, I didn't know what I was getting into. And especially since she had 2 kids by another man, from a previous marriage. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
But I
So-
definitely fell in love with the kids, and I thought I loved her,
So mistakes, Richard, that could be used, for actionable advice, I guess, right? But what mistakes do you notice in particular that you made?
Marry in your age group. There's one.
Oh, okay,
Marry
so
close
can you
to your
define that?
age. Yeah.
So
Marry
not.
close to you. I mean, within 3 years.
Oh.
If you're really, I mean, and the older you get, I think the less it matters. But I think you should be marrying with someone who's close within your own generation at least. My gosh.
Would you say that for men as well? Like, because a lot of times men will marry younger women and it seems to work. Do you say no, don't do that? Just stay with the 3-year rule. just hard and
Hey,
fast on
19, we can't dance together. We can't talk at all.
that?
Hey,
I think he
19.
was telling the truth. You know,
That's a song from Steely Dan.
That's a good
Yeah,
band.
personally, man, I don't know how to say this. I mean, I do. Whew. Typically, the women I've dealt with, at least for me, within 3 years, my age, mm-mm, mm-mm.
because
Yeah.
Because,
Mhm.
well, the truth is because they run through.
Ooh.
Yeah.
they're streakers. What do you mean they run through?
They've
No, I
been
mean they've been run through. They have too many attachments, too
too
much
many bodies.
baggage. Yeah, too many bodies.
Children.
And look, that's not to say that a younger one couldn't have as many or more. That's not to say that. I'm just saying my experience, it seems that within 3 years of me, if I were to make your advice applicable, is that oh, it looks like your device timed out, Dio. That yeah, it doesn't work for me. But I also would not be closed off to a woman within 3 years. I'm just saying for me, typically, it seems in my anecdote, my life, that less experience on their end is a good thing. It seems to me that a woman of my age normally, and also, let's say, equivocal experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't
that's
like.
really
I
what
want
hooked.
my daughter. I think like I've got a young daughter, and I actually like when she dates somebody that's a little bit older, because I just think that he's more mature, he's more caring. I don't know. I just rather than the guys her age, I think there's a big difference, and I think that I don't know. I just have appreciated them more. I know
You know,
that's unusual.
it seems to me, I don't know how to quite say this, and I definitely won't be able to say it without pissing a bunch of people off. But it seems to me that in a lot of terms, I'm not saying this is a binary, and even that padding won't help the disgust I'll get from this. But it seems to me that men who go through more hardship is a positive, and that correlation doesn't, I haven't noticed it with women. But I'm not saying that there aren't women who have overcome great hardship and become better because of it. I just don't see the same correlation amongst people between men and women when it comes to that.
I mean,
Yeah.
even like I'm not a big religious guy, but even the Bible has that reference to age. Women being younger than the men. But I get where Brother Richard's coming from, though.
Well, he's coming from the Bible. Well, what do you think about what DL just said, Richard?
I think that's how he reads it.
Interpretation.
Yeah.
And let me take this moment to welcome Wizard. What up, El Perro?
Hi, Wizard.
What's good, brother?
What up, baby daddy?
Well, you wanted some advice on dating, but not from single guys. So I'm going to tell you, I'm not married by the state, but I've been in a wedlock. Very distinct difference.
Smart man.
A wedlock with my companion for going on 15 years. The problem isn't the dating. The problem is your commitment. When you commit to somebody, you're done dating. It's no longer any games. You have to go through what you go through. You've already made the commitment. And if you both have 100% in it, you both stand firm.
And I'm going to have, yeah. And if you want to extrapolate a little bit, and then I'd like to hear from Cynthia. But I want to answer a couple questions here. Big Jake, how many bodies, too many bodies? Look, I never ask a woman, like I might ask online just to be a dick. But I never have asked a woman. I don't ask that. But I can ascertain, right? Eventually, you know if she has been promiscuous and trying to put on a front. Eventually, that fades, like all lies. So
Yeah.
with that said, I would say probably if she's, I mean, generally, right? There could be exceptions, but generally, if it's in the double digits, I think it's going to be a tough journey, meaning it won't be a journey, meaning that doesn't seem to me I will be able to lead because she won't follow. So that's what it typically seems to me. And then lastly, Izzy, do you think it's because you fish from a dirty standing pond instead of a clear river? Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that has been the case. Yeah, and El Perro. If I don't know if you had anything else. Otherwise, Cynthia.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you a certain incident, and this is what I'm talking about. It's not just a partnership. When you get into that partnership, the sole reason you get into that partnership is a future life, something you create together to continue that legacy heir. And so we had a situation where her daughter wanted to put a camper in the park in the driveway, and her and her 3 little boys and her old man, her boyfriend, who wasn't a very respectable person, wanted to live in the driveway. Can't do that. Can't do that. Not just because it's against city ordinance, but the city ordinance is there because people in the past have already done that, and they hook that camper up to the house that is not meant and wired for 2 households. So it becomes a fire hazard. And so all my life, I've done the same thing. When we come upon issues, we sit down, we do some research so we know what choices we're making. And when we call up the city and they say, no, you can't do that because we've done our research and I already told them you can't, and they wanted to check with the city and the city confirmed it, and then they turn around and do it anyway. Now, the aspect here is we've got pets. She's got 3 little boys, or she's got a daughter with her husband, her boyfriend, husband, whatever, and they've got 3 little boys. So now we have 5 in the camper, plus myself, my companion, 2 dogs, a spider, a bunch of fish, a couple turtles, all at risk
Oh wow.
for one little decision out of desire, gluttony, greed, to want to be close to your family, where you will destroy that entire family. This is the story of Job. Pay attention.
Do you have
If
the
you're gonna
patience
commit-
of Job?
If you're going to commit, you damn well better know that when instances like that occur, you're going to have problems with the entire family now. But you can't walk away. None of her family likes me. I don't care. That's on you. So
That's
may
right.
God
We don't
bless-
like you either.
So may God bless you, because I love every last one of you enough that I wouldn't make such a dumb decision. And I'm the only one standing up trying to prevent them. You better take heed. You want me out? You're going to get the man that you want. And he's going to let you burn yourself and everybody else up. That's the commitment. That's what people don't understand.
And
Yeah.
as to that commitment, let me just say real quick, Carpenter's Journey, maybe I can put it in a better term, right? Because it's not really about numbers. And like I said, you wouldn't know anyways. So with that said, I guess what I'm saying is, to me, a woman who's very picky is a good thing, especially in this modern day. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, and when it comes to numbers, man, it could be 3, it could be 300. But I say this all the time, especially with the young people. Like, plausible deniability only works when there's no proof. So whatever you out there doing, boys and girls, keep that shit in the closet. Don't be filming it and putting it out there. You know, I'm with Base. I've never asked a woman her body count. I never will. I care less. All I'm gonna do, I sit back and I watch. Just be patient, right?
And-
you know,
And
ahead.
welcome, Damian Siggs.
brother Damien in the building. What's good, fam?
What's up, DL? How you doing, brother?
Chilling, man. Chilling, man. Yo,
I saw you up there, and I saw Bass had a Wu-Tang tattoo, so I knew I had to jump on here. So
I do.
it might be.
hey, brother D is real good people, Base, man. He's a real good guy.
Cool. You got any thoughts so far, Damian?
Yeah. So let me give a little background on me. I've a retired and reformed, I guess you would call coxman or out there player, and
Homemaker.
yeah, exactly. And been married for 17 years. So
Nice.
as far as like giving advice to people, I got quite a few nephews that come to me for advice pretty regularly when it comes to this dating thing. So I thought maybe I had some insight on this subject. This is something I tend to talk about a lot is, transitions, and any aspect of it I'm willing to jump in on. When you talk about body count, you talk about advice. I think the number one piece of advice I give people is, what are you looking to get out of dating? If you're just looking for experience in the sport of it, the advice is going to be different. I can tell you some of the things you need to do and how to present yourself if you're just looking to have fun. If you're looking to date with intention, I try to help you say, hey, you know what, here's some of the things that you need to change about yourself in order to date with intention. The number one thing I notice about people who say they want to settle down and date with intention is a lot of them are convinced but never really committed to the process, and some of the things, because there's a lot of self-reflection that has to go along with that. For example, you got to fall back. I always tell people, if you're really to just put the fast life around and try to settle down with somebody, about you got to do what's necessary to change yourself into a person of value. Like there's this old movie called A History of Violence with Viggo Mortensen, and he says he went into the desert and killed the old him so that the new him could live. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to step away from like dating for a while and start to develop those the basis for the values that you have. That's going to continue for the long period of time, because you can't be living and there's no way you can really have any self-development if you're in the midst of the wild shit that you're doing.
Agreed.
It's okay for me to cuss because I cuss like crazy sometimes.
No, don't fucking swear on my platform.
All right, just make sure.
You are perfectly fine. And welcome, Scam Likely. You can go, but first, Cynthia. Oh, Cynthia gone. There you are.
Go ahead. It's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, so you won.
Oh, well, what I was going to kind of touch on, kind of everybody touched on it, but just to break it down a little bit simpler, is that you have to know your foundation. DL talked about it earlier in the live. You have to date yourself. And that is something that a lot of people don't do, is they don't take the time to really understand themselves, so they know their strengths and their weaknesses and how that does connect, or how it would fit in with another person. And once you get that down, it does have that counter effect that, it goes to you're being too picky now, because you know what you work with and what you don't work. Going back to what Wizard was talking about, staying 10 toes down, because him and his partner understand how they research things together and make decisions together. Although he expressed that her family doesn't like him, she understands this is Wizard and this is a decision they made. And then, of course, Damien came in talking about, stepping back from it and getting to know yourself. I think, especially in today's society, when it's social media and everything's about, look at me, I'm getting flown out. Look at me, somebody just pursed me up. Look at me, I got this. Look at me, I'm at the best place. You tend to feel like you can't keep up, or you're a failure. So stepping back from that and really self-analyzing who you are and what you're made of will eliminate a lot of the bullshit.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. That was good. And Scam Likely, before you go here, hey, everyone watching, if you want to hit an algorithm button, that'd be cool.
Hit that like button, y'all. Like. Please, it's free.
And Scam,
follow-up question.
Yeah.
Just real quick. Cynthia, what's pursed me up mean?
So a lot of times women like to get designer purses, Goyard bags, Louis bags, a Birkin bag.
So if someone buys you a bag, that's pursing you up.
Well, it was just a slang.
Yeah, that's the slang
I'm
for
just
it.
trying to understand.
Yeah,
I think it's like a superficial,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Pursing you up wouldn't be just a bag. Like they have to come with a really nice high-end designer bag. Like someone buys you an Hermes Birkin or something like that. That's being pursed up. That's
Never
the
even
term.
heard of that. Thanks for letting me on your channel.
He'll
Peace
be
and respect,
buying a
y'all. Have a
Birkin,
great
by the
night.
way.
All right, Richard.
brother.
We'll see you. All right, Scam, did you have any thoughts for us?
What's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
sir.
you good.
Just reading the original question. Single men shouldn't give dating advice.
Yeah.
Information is information. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Doesn't matter where it comes from.
Agreed.
Let's be real. American greed is based on people who had money or looked or smelled like they had money and told you something to keep you broke. The information was bad. But it can be a regular person making $15 an hour and tell you, hey, you need to save more money than you're spending. And they could have got that information for somebody who was rich, who got it from somebody who was broke, who got it from somebody who was rich. The information is the same.
I agree. Right. For instance, the homeless man might have great financial advice. I mean, really, he could. Now, it would seem unlikely given his position if he's homeless. But with that said, it would be foolish not to listen to, if it were in fact sound advice, good words, because of the optics per se. But it seems our society likes to listen to people who are perceivably good at making money or, getting woman or a wife, whatever it is, even if there's zero value to it. Even if they are not good whatsoever, they're faking it. People seem to value the optics, and I think that's a problem.
And that goes to your statement about body count. Like you got the optics there. People will tell you what they want to tell you. I've never met a woman who's like, yeah, I've slept with 300 men. She's not gonna do it. But you have to be able to ascertain, like Base was saying, and Brother Dame, what's your take on that, Brother Dame? You say you have to go out to the desert and become the new person, leave the old person behind. How would you advise someone who's like, hey man, I met the perfect woman, she's great. She wanted to be completely honest with me. She told me she used to be a pro, worker. She had 200 clients. She's not that person anymore. What would you advise that young man?
I'd say basically you need to see if she has any connection to the old life. And that's one thing. It's funny thing that you mentioned that, because I've mentioned this woman, and I know a couple of women who were like really, and the kind of the situation I was in DL. I was in the club. I was with club promoters. So we had working girls there. We had all kinds of people there that we partied and we socialized with. And I know a couple who have really changed their life around, and I always have this one example of this one young lady who was deep into like wilding out and partying and stuff like that. I'm talking professionally. And now she is a IT professional in Seattle with 3 kids. You would never know, like PTA and all that stuff. And she really doesn't live in Seattle and she really works in IT, but that's just using as an example of how different her life is. Because I don't want somebody's like, Damien was talking about you, some IT person in Seattle getting blamed for it. But yeah, it was just like, so she just changed her life around in a way that I think you do it. It's like, okay, first you need to identify, is she still connected to any part of that life? Has she completely divested from that? And how long has it been? If she's like, oh yeah, I don't sleep around anymore, but I'm still a bottle service girl, where the same situation, or I still do OnlyFans, or I still do this or that. If she has any connection to that, then she hasn't done the work to try to distance himself from that long enough. If she still sees it as a potential point of revenue, like I can always go back to stripping, or whatever. If she always keeps some connection to it, then she hasn't done the work to kind of completely divest herself, and it'll always creep its head up in some form of fashion. It's a little more difficult if it's been in a public eye, like the OF and the things like that, because you may think you have divested, but then that stuff can come back up at any time, and you got to worry about if it is going to affect kids or anything like that. But if it was just things you did and you just got high body count, I would advise you. I was like, okay, does she still run in those sales circles? Does she have a solid group of people who acknowledge the change and are a proponent of her never going back to any of those type of dangerous lifestyles? is she had any kind of awakening? Like, you know, is there something that keeps her moving forward? Religion, a job, children, something that she says this is the foundation that started me on my journey of transition, and something that could probably keep me in that direction. There needs to be something. I think there needs to be a foundation of it. So, and you can't live in it. And real to talk, it would be smart for you to relocate and move out of the city where you were wilding out in. Like right. I said, how the young lady is in Seattle, but she was from Northern California.
Right.
Yeah. Nobody's going to recognize her in Tacoma, Washington.
You would think.
I got partial feedback. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, brother.
No, I was going to say this. At the end of the day, people listen to a lot of stuff, content, talking points. 90% of them contradict themselves, or they show what the real problems are. If all the dudes keep talking about, man, high body count, body count, body count, that means they're getting their women on bimbos.com. Because a lot of women with these beautiful women with the high body count, most of these dudes can't get those women. They're not a part of it. They don't qualify for it. So they just heard it over the internet. It sounded good. Or they can get a couple of those women, but they're out doing something they shouldn't be doing with the people they shouldn't be doing it with. Then caught feelings for a chick who's been ran through by Big Dick Tony and the Savages. But if they're looking for somebody with some kind of decency, you would be attracted to a form of decency, meaning these wouldn't be the people that you're dealing with. To the point where they're getting on the internet, slobbering on the microphone to all body count, 400 bodies, OnlyFans. How you keep coming across these type of people? They're on loosevagina.com, which means there's something wrong with what they're doing. They're dangling their wallet out the sky, saying they're doing something, they want something, and doing something else. Like, I won't name content creators or anything, but there's ones that talk so bad about the bimbos. Every time you click it, all you see is 58 bimbos and titties flying out the sky. That must mean that's what they like. And every conversation and everything is based on the bimbos. You can't do this because bimbos do that. I mean, that must be that's where you are, and that's all that you know.
It's funny when I have that conversation with people, because when I'm on these panels and I'm having a conversation, and I think what the main thing is it's the behaviors, not the number. Like, what was the behavior? What was your mind state that got it to where you were there? If you're just a person that low self-esteem or what have you, because one of the things I always ask them, like, so if you, I always ask them, like, what's a low body count? They were like, 5, or what you call that. So, okay, if you met a woman that had 5 partners, you would think she's great, low body count, whatever. What was it 5? Would you say if it was 5 in the same month, 5 in the same week? It was like, would you still consider her as valuable as somebody that has a higher body count over a longer period of time? I think it's the behavior. What was the reason why you had the 300 bodies? And it's something that you can overcome, or something is it a dysfunction that you have that you've not worked on? You know, and I think that's the thing, and people aren't recognizing what it really is, and it's insecurity as well. You know, just to keep it 100% funky, it's a lot of dude. You're less likely to be the top dude if there's other 300 dicks she's been with before you. You probably fall somewhere around 76th. And it might hurt your feeling a little bit.
Yeah, you might be 298. My thing is, when I come across that situation, when some young guy asks me, you know, what should I do? I normally say walk away from the situation. I'm like, just walk away from it, because everything that Brother Dame said makes sense. If you can really get into it, she came forward and gave you that information. She probably has made that change. She just wants you to know exactly what you're getting into. There's a lot to be said about that type of woman, but generally speaking, I would say I'm gonna walk away. The woman who's gonna be up front with you, she's on a mission. She's, you know, I think that's a good thing. It might cost her the relationship, but at least she's being honest. Most people keep that shit in the closet. It's so deep in the closet you never find out. And you know, that's the thing with plausible deniability, bro. Like it only works when there's no proof. So I tell people, keep your dirt in the closet, but once it comes to light, if a guy asks me what to do, I'm like, man, walk away from that. If a woman comes up to me, is like, well, he's a perfect guy, but I just found out he committed all these 187s and he was selling drugs. I'm like, walk away from that. You know, so like, why take the chance? Life is too short. Why take the chance? But that's what I normally tell people. But I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm like, I don't know if I would. I know I personally wouldn't deal with it. If I find out I'm with a woman, she's been with 300 dudes or whatever, I'm not.
Well, to the point being made about the actions, right? I do agree with you, and my point, I guess, I was trying to make to connect the two, are that I never ask. I wouldn't really know, but based on their actions, based on time, I kind of can ascertain. I just put it, she's been run through or not. Now, some people are like, well, what's that number? I'll put it like this. If I can tell by the way she acts, which would be her actions, that it's double digits, then it's not going to work. It just won't.
I feel you on that. But it's a tough one, guy. This is it. So again, and brother Dame and brother Scam, like who is best to give this advice? I think they hit it on point. I mean, just take the meat, leave the bones. Like take the best information you can get from wherever you can get it, and use that to the best of your ability. I don't think you have to. Well, married men give the best advice on getting married. Maybe. Single men give the best advice on womanizing. Maybe. I know some married dudes. Like Dame has some advice from back in the day that can, boy, if you're just trying to run numbers, that brother can help you out. Like he can give you the game on how to run those numbers. Is he like that anymore? Absolutely not. Different man. But this is a different time.
So what I've noticed is women who are run through, right? Once that has happened, right? I'm not even giving a specific number, although I gave you an idea. Once I noticed that, the behaviors that come with it are like entitlement. Oh, I demand this. It really does at a certain point, I believe that women, right, just like men to some degree, but different, but in terms of other things, will just look at it like, oh, it's just another dick, right? By the 300th, if that really were the number, how could she think any differently? I mean,
I partially disagree. Any woman of any decency, if they like you, they're going to act and treat you like a woman who actually likes you and wants to be with you, regardless of their body count. That might be 20% of the problem. I think 75% of the entitlements and the unrealistic expectations is they don't like you. If they like you, you meet those expectations. They'll meet you at a gas station, sit in the car with you. If they don't like you, they want lobster ankles and mule shoulders from a rooftop that only open at from 3 to 3:15 in the morning, and they'll still complain. That's because they don't like you. In their mind, there's some dude or something. They'll grab you because they want some attention and trying to beat you into being like the ex-boyfriend that they really want.
and what up, Izzy? Do you have some thoughts? And yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Do you have any thoughts, Izzy?
Hey, how is everybody? Is my audio okay?
Yep, you
Yes.
sound good.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. I mean, you all have brought a lot of information that I'm actually even never heard of, like the body count thing. I've never heard of that term before, but I've also been married for a very long time. I grew up in the Middle East, so dating is not really a thing. You don't sleep around, you don't do those kind of stuff, right? I mean, you could date, you just don't sleep around, you don't live with a man unless you are married. So hearing this is just, in a way, it's kind of disgusting to me, to be honest with you.
I agree.
And the way I raise my children is similar to the way I was raised. Back to the whole, your body is your temple. I don't want them to be fooling around because it just does not sound right.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How can I say it? Not being exact, but did the women have the option of going out there and doing what they want to do and being loose and whatever? Or is it
Women can find, they always can find a way. Let me just say this. You go to school, you go to college, you could always find a way. There were absolutely always the 5 to 10% of women that do mess around. I'm not saying that doesn't happen over there. And the way they get punished, I am not for that as well. I mean, you go from one extreme to another. They do have the option.
No, meaning like you were saying, the way they get punished. Meaning, a girl can
It
go
could
to
be.
tonight, go get stuck at 8 o'clock, do it again at 10, 12, and 2 o'clock, and then go to work like nothing happened. Probably post it on Instagram, nothing's going to happen, but they can actually still have an all right life. But I've never been to the Middle East, but I'm just saying, can they actually do that without an extreme consequence, meaning it's almost not an option to live like that?
I can jump in real quick. I was in Saudi Arabia in 1991. This is my first deployment, and I remember walking around, and the culture was extremely different. Now, women were covered head to toe, and they weren't supposed to talk to us, but they did. Here I am, 18, 19 years old. I'm in this foreign land during wartime. I was in a mall. I think I was in Riyadh, and I'm in the mall, and I hear this voice behind me, and it's a female voice. It's like, "Hi, where in the States are you from?" Right? And I'm just I turn around immediately to face her. She's like, don't look at me, because her back was to me. So I turn back around. We're back to back in the mall. And I'm like, I'm from Ohio. She's like, oh, I've never been to Ohio. Have you ever been to Florida? Like, yeah, I've been to Florida. She's like, yeah, we have a house in Miami, and we're having this conversation. So that young lady could have made arrangements for us to meet up if she wanted to. I wouldn't have done it because it was so extreme in 1991. I'm told this it's not as extreme now, but people were getting they tops lopped off. They were getting rocks thrown at them. It was biblical over there when I was there, bro, for stuff
And
like that.
I have to say, it's not the same. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead. No,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
No, you good. Go ahead.
It's not the same in Iraq. I grew up in Iraq, and you don't have to cover head to toe. Girls are more trusted. You go to school. It's not, girls actually drive and all of that. You just value. I think bottom line is just you respect and value, your views. That's just it. You just respect it. And
that's a great point, right? Our values over here are kind of trash in that regard.
I mean, look at Haktua. Haktua's she's already made over $1 million. I
don't know who that is.
That's it.
Who is that?
She spits on that thing, I guess.
Yeah, she got famous. She was getting a street interview, and she said, "How do you keep your man happy?" And she said, "You got a Haktua on that thing," and now she's a millionaire.
Yeah, she's described as a philanthropist now. Imagine that.
But she is the shining example of, this is what these young women should aspire to be. Kind of like, to use Base's words, because he says this stuff all the time. But I had to think about it, because Base says these things. I'm like, oh, come on, Base, man, you tripping. But when I realized she surpassed $1 million, and she's everywhere. She's throwing out the first pitch at big baseball games. She's on major, TV
that
outlets.
Tells you what we value. That tells you what America values.
Exactly.
Somebody was doing political correspondent was on Fox News, and he referenced her during a political discussion.
Yes.
That's insane. And
wow.
Right. So to Sister Izzy's point, like what they value and what they hold, most dear in the Middle East, even like, Saudi Arabia was pretty extreme, but still they held their values pretty high. Then you come to America, and a hot tour girl is a millionaire for saying you need to spit on man meat.
Well, and the pathetic thing about that is that it's a true statement, and she is proving it to this day because more and more people are watching it, and they're advertising it and magnifying it even more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that is disgusting, but that also follows the money, right?
I agree.
She's making people money. Yeah, that's disgusting. Yeah,
I'm just saying, it's a difference.
Yeah, go on.
It's a difference in this country. If you do this, we chop your fingers off. I mean, it's not necessarily, not trying to be extreme, but if this country, 99% of people do this, and there's shame and there's deadly consequences, then it doesn't necessarily mean it's their values. If they don't have to do something else.
That's true. However, back to listen. I mean, like the girls and I, the school we went to, we had plenty of opportunities, but we didn't do it out of respect for our values and beliefs. Does that make sense?
And like you said, Sister Izzy, there were some girls who did do it, right? Correct. There were
Yes.
some. Yeah, there was some who
Yes.
did do it. So so scam to your original question, yeah, it happens over there, but there are some serious consequences. Here in America, it's like you're encouraged
It's
to do it.
celebrated here. It's
Yeah.
celebrated here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So even if it's
incentivized.
celebrated, there's people who don't. Meaning, if you got freedom of choice, what would you do? For example, $100 laying on the ground and you know it belongs to somebody else. If you know they're going to chop your hand off, you're not going to steal it, of course. It's extreme consequence. But also, if you have a value system and say, I'm not a thief, you're also not going to steal the $100. But unless you take both tests, you don't know where the person really stands. Like, are you just not going to steal because your hand ain't going to get chopped off?
Right.
They still
Yeah,
might
no, I
want-
get that.
Still might be a crook. You really don't know.
I think what happens, even people from like, because a lot of close friends are from the Middle East. One of my best friends is from Tehran, and like he taught me how to say Toga Shangi so I could holler at the Persian women that bottle service girls,
There you go.
and it works all the time, So it was just like, I think once people get over here, I think there's a certain level of respect they have for the culture, but it can be eroded and very quickly when they start getting around people whose focus is something else, is money and opulence and status and access or what have you. So I think it's frowned upon, but it's not. I've dated many Persian women who were just as like wild as every other girl that I came across with.
And you know what's fascinating with the Persian women? Iran is actually even more strict than the rest
Yep.
of the Middle East. It's very, very similar to Saudi Arabia,
Yep.
And there you go. They're actually even more strict.
And that's usually what happened. They come over here and they wow out.
They let their hair down for real.
That's the point I was trying to express. Not saying all, but there's a population of people that, if given the option, you'll see who they really are.
Right. I think
You're
my point is bottom
Yeah.
line comes down to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, great. No, I was just going to say there's also a population when given a chance that'll hold the value. Like you were saying, your daughters. They'll still
Right,
hold.
right. It comes down to parenting for the most part, right? And how do we, even as a community, how do we help our children and how to look out after them? I think that's a huge part of it.
I agree.
Just my
Yeah. Well, I think the absence of community widespread across the U.S. is the problem, unless one would like to replace absent with shitty community.
I mean, that's a different conversation too. But I'm curious to hear what Sister Izzy's take is on the dating advice part. What's your take on all this? I don't know how much of the show you got to hear before you were able to jump up, but who should and shouldn't be giving dating advice in your opinion?
I think anybody, who has experience can give their advice, in my opinion, or anybody who had faced or didn't face or whatever. Anybody can give advice. It's up to you to take it, or if you think it's a bunch of BS or whatnot, right? Again, I got married young. I met my husband. I've known him for literally half of my life at this point. And I was 22, he's 27. And that's why I was saying, I think it's better if people go back to that, get married early and get to know and grow together. We started from zero. We had nothing, you know what I mean? And we just built everything together. We went through a lot of stuff. My advice today is just put yourself out there. I don't understand the whole dating app. Obviously did not grow up with it. I don't understand it, but I'm more of a traditionalist, I would say, old fashioned. Stay away from the technology. Most women would find it very, very amazing, actually courageous if you approach them directly instead of just going through a dating app. That's my thing. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. I think the dating apps remove a level of, I don't know if intimacy is the word, but right, they're indirect in a way, in many ways, right? You see a picture and the picture is usually bullshit. And even if it's not, a picture really doesn't tell you anything about the person. And then what they write is usually bullshit. So yeah, I agree. I think that in person is far better than dating apps, and I think I haven't been on dating apps in quite a while, but I think that probably the type of people that really utilize them are gonna perpetually be on there. And I think for the most part, it's dudes trying to fuck, and it's women who are trying to fuck with the idea that maybe they'll get a relationship out of it. And I think generally that's who's on dating apps at this point.
Bingo. That's what I was saying about the fish. Oh, I'm sorry. That's what I was saying about fishing in the right pond.
Yeah,
I'm out. And I'm out, based.
All right, thank you, Wizard.
Peace,
too.
Wizard.
I just want to say one thing I've noticed about like dating apps, like I think you got it half right, based is like there are dudes that are trying to fuck, but I think the vast majority of women on dating apps are trying to get affirmation. They want the guys hollering at them. They want that. I think
I described it as fucking, but you're right.
Yeah. I think they know that's the easiest, quickest way to get 100 guys telling them they're beautiful.
Yeah.
No,
you're right.
So I think a lot of women don't even want to hook up. There's a very few. If there's 200 women on a dating app with 1,000 guys, maybe 20 of them actually really want to hook up.
And to get a little bit more nuanced, I think there's a large portion of men, particularly who are on there hopelessly looking for a relationship. I'm talking about the dudes who are not getting swiped by anyone other than maybe bots, right?
Yep. And I
You're
think
right about that.
one of the things that I think is lost, and just to piggyback off what you were saying, based about when the cold approach, or when you're walking up to somebody, putting yourself out there, you don't get any KPI. You don't give, okay, how was my performance? How was my approach? What was you don't forget any feedback on things you need to fix or change in order to be successful. So it's
You
just
do
you
if you hire
constantly.
DL Saint. You if you hire me, because I'm standing right there in the wings watching. That's what I do. I give you feedback in real time.
Seriously, that's what I tell her. I was like, don't do that. I know I've seen in situations where it's guys who are like sending stuff to women. I guess they're through now, they'd be at the club, the women will be there and they'll be on the phone, try to like what's the thing when you call it airdrop stuff to women. Or not even really walking up. They're trying to be on their phone, try to engage with somebody via their phone, as opposed to just walking over having a conversation. Because that buffer makes it to where it's not, you can say, okay, it's not just me, it's not me. If you send a hey, how you doing? I think you're attractive on the DM. You could be like, oh, she must get 100 DMs and she just doesn't read her DMs if she doesn't reply. If you walk up, then you're going to get some immediate feedback on how you approached them and what was going wrong. And then you have to do some self-actualization and say, okay, here's where I fucked up. I need to change some things. And there's some effort, some work that needs to be done once you get turned down in person.
That's actually a great point. And I think some people are just afraid of rejection. And I think that's the problem. I don't want to, I guess the term is dunk on men. But that is a huge part, right? And it's really attractive for a man to approach a woman. And I think we need to go back to that.
Yeah.
Well, sister Izzy, is really attractive for a man that woman finds attractive to hit on her. That's one of the things that gets overlooked a lot. A lot of women like, I want men to come up and talk to me. Like, no. You want the men that you find attractive to come up and talk to you.
I've seen women get so icked out, cringed out by dudes approaching that, you could just tell body language, many different ways. You could tell this is not going to go well.
And don't do it in a creepy way.
well, that's the thing. They don't think that they're being creepy. And I mean, I don't know what they're thinking, but it seems to me that many of them don't think they're being creepy. But because they feel scared, it can come off as creepy. No doubt about it. And look, we have to put a bookmark in this. We're going to do that shit that Fresh should have done and wrap it up. So,
we almost got there, bro. We almost went 2.5, almost 3 hours without you trying to dunk on Fresh and Myron. We almost got there.
I was just gonna say, I'm sorry. I legit sitting outside. That's why you're hearing crickets.
I was wondering where that was coming from. I'm like, bro, what is the deal with the cricket? No, it's cool. It's nature. We like nature over here. Base like nature. He used to eat crickets. He was a Marine. Didn't y'all eat crickets? Didn't they teach you how to do that?
Crayons.
I ate one cricket in Bridgeport. Yeah, I lit him up with a lighter. So there's the origin of that. DL and well, actually, Scam Likely, Damien, Cynthia, Izzy, DL. Thank you for coming on. And DL, if you want to give
Pleasure.
your parting, actually, anyone got some parting. I know you have to run in a minute, DL.
Yeah, I'll go last if you want. If you want to start with Brother Damien and work your way up.
Cool.
No, I just want to say it's like one of the things that I think I've known is that if you spend too much time on social media, you can become jaded and misguided when it comes to dating or what have you, because it's a situation where they push you to go vigorously after what you want instead of trying to take the time to figure out what you're going to actually need. So what you need to do is just kind of step back from dating, figure out what are your values and how to separate values from preferences. If you want fidelity, that's value. If you want a big ass, that's a preference. You need to determine which one is going to be the thing that's going to keep you happy for the longest period of time and that you can live with for the longest period of time. So that's it. You know, it's light, but it's heavy, but it takes some commitment in order to like really see your way through it. So that's all I got to say. Hey, pleasure having me up there. You guys been great talking to. I love having this kind of adult conversation. So I appreciate you letting me come up.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming up.
Definitely gonna hit you up, Dame.
Nice
Right.
to meet you all. Thank you so much, Brace, for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming up.
Pleasure to meet you, Sister Izzy.
You too.
And Scam, Cynthia, any final parting words?
I think just, you know, in the midst of all the chaos of dating, always be kind to yourself. Make sure to take the time to date yourself. Don't beat yourself up about things. And most importantly, learn to be out of your comfort zone. I think that's when you're out of your comfort zone is when you can really understand more about who you are.
Cool.
That's what's up. Always a pleasure, Sister Cynthia.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Mm-hmm.
And what up, Scam? Thanks for coming on today. Any parting thoughts?
Use your critical thinking and ask as many why questions as possible.
Good.
Put a whole 360 instead of just hearing one or two buzzwords. Huh, traditional, huh, masculine. Because
Right.
most of it that you're hearing is absolute junk. And the math don't even add up. So
Yeah.
don't get caught up in hearing this and body count of 6 and 13 people. You know, most of it's junk. Ask
I
yourself why you want that woman or what you want that woman to do. And then look in the mirror, look at yourself. And the stupid stuff you did last week, last year. Because let's be real, you ain't perfect either. But make a decision. Is this a person we can rock with? Do we get along? Does she like me? Will she be there? And do we have the same values and can we do something? If the answer is no, move along. Otherwise, you're going to be 3 o'clock in the morning yelling, complaining about women on these panels. And then I'm going to have to troll you.
Yeah. And I think that time is necessary to really see the actions to give us some of those answers. I think too many people, you know, I've heard too many times, oh, I just met her. She's great. She's you don't fucking know her yet.
I've been there before. That was me in my 20s.
Facts.
Nobody told me. I didn't know.
That's right, man. So
Right. DL's been out with me before. I know I got weaknesses myself. I'm not observant. I don't pay attention to nothing. So
yeah,
I
me
take
and
consideration.
us getting to know each other in real life.
Yeah. I got strong points. I got weak points. So I don't expect a woman to be perfectly traditional and a body count of 1 and be 21 years old and hit the wall at 23. Come on. I got problems too. But that's all I got. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good hollering at you, Scam. Good seeing you, bro.
Peace out.
Later, man.
Peace.
And DL, you know,
Yeah,
when we meet up, DL, we can have a drink, right? Do a little outing, and then it's going to get competitive. Got to show receipts for Uncle Guns.
All right. You know what I'm saying? Is what it is. You definitely a Marine and a paratrooper out and about, you know, talking to women, it's gonna be a mess. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be a good time though. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, man.
Especially depending on what city we're in. Ooh, If we down in the bottom, bro, if we all the way down there in Miami, oh my goodness.
Brickell.
If we in Brickell, it's gonna be something, bro. Actually, if we were down in Miami, we would go to Doral. Of course, we would, hit Brickell, but some spots I want to take you in Doral. That's where the real people of Miami live. That's where the the folks who born and raised down there, they're in Doral, they're in Kendall, places like that, Hialeah. We'll hit Doral, and you'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll be like, you might want to move down there, bro. It's South Beach, Brickell, Wynwood. That's not Miami. That's where the tourists go. You want to go where the real folks are. But man, thanks for having me on, bro. This was great. I know they don't do anything on Sundays. Shout out to everybody who were on my page checking it out, man. Appreciate y'all support. Most of my folks they're watching football. They don't even know I'm doing this. They're going to see it later. Like, hey, I didn't know you were on. But I appreciate all my day ones. Appreciate y'all coming out, man. Like I said, it was good seeing Brother Dame. I've been on his platform. He's been on mine. That brother's a wealth of knowledge, man. For real. Like, he keeps it 100. I think you would enjoy having conversations with Brother Dame.
Well, we just did, and I did. So you're right.
Yeah. So and that's all I got, man. Thanks for thinking of me, bro. Thanks for hitting me up, man. This was fun.
Yeah. We'll have to do it again, DL. IRL live stream. Well, we'll see.
We could do it in real life, bro. Oh my, that's gonna be fucking stupid. But hey, I look forward to that, bro. I really do. Like I said, if I can get up where you at in the fall, that'd be great. I don't go up there in the winter. It gets too cold. I can't do the cold.
Yeah. And I might come down there in the winter. We'll see. But I'll talk to you offline. And for everyone else, hit that algorithm button. Go over to DL Saint. Hit that button. We out.
If I was next to you now, I'll floor you. I'll knock you,
You would
down.
do nothing, Harvey.
You don't
You
have
would
strong
shut your
arm,
mouth, which you're having a hard time doing here.
Get fucked, you fucking son of a bitch. Who the fuck?
And that's why I love Base.
Based Oracle's in the building.
Base Oracle loves truth. So why, you know who you're dealing with. If you know your audience, why have lies so he can dispel them?
The whole Based Oracle, he's got people pointing guns at him from all directions.
But it's just like
Oracle.
Lovely to see you.
It is lovely to see me.
I claimed it. I claimed it.
Based, you are in trouble now.
What up, Base? Good to see you, bro. I saw you were on today, man. You cooking over there, bro. You doing good.
Hey, what's your name? I gotta write your name down. Who the fuck are you?
But she didn't have to come for him. He didn't have nothing to do with nothing.
I'm breaking up with Flo, and Based Oracle is now my internet boyfriend.
No, don't give him too much credit.
No.
How is this?
Please,
how is it not real?
No, please, fucking don't do this. I need to know who this guy is.
His name is Based Oracle.
If I got you flowers once a week, that'd be cool. But what if I upped it to once a day?
Then I would suck your dick every day.
That's your expectation.
That's reality. You like a perfect match, though. You a little bit white, I'm a little bit black,
But my pussy's real pink, though.
You're fucking.
Which one?
You're fucking the moderator, bro. You're fucking the moderator.
Is this indigenous black beautiful man?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, Base, how does it feel to be the YouTube sex symbol?
Right. And that's why I don't have to eat box. You see?
I really do fucking hate you, Based Oracle. And if I ever see you in life, I can't tell you what I do without the device. I can't tell you what I do with this.
So,
I slept with him once.
Who gives? God damn it!
Quite honestly, Flo just sent me the link randomly and told me to jump on.
So. Why you have to come for him, though? What you talking to me?
Because I'm not trying to disrespect you. I'm just trying to be honest.
Well, fuck you, respectfully.
When did you realize that you thought of Based as a sex object?
His supporters are loyal, though, man. Like, Base got a really good following, man.
Had a lot of interesting things tonight, and I think any man would want to.
I think that any real man understands that he ain't got to say shit.
And Base, I was just saying, like, you got to give women more credit than you do.
No.
Based Oracle, he doesn't care about you. He pretends to, but then he understands that he's next to you because he's paid to be here.
Keeping ourselves stuck there.
She sounds like a good dishwasher.
I'll rock with Based Oracle, y'all. I'll rock with Based Oracle.
A normal, reasonable person would never in a million years respond with, I want a fucking tuna sandwich, a box of chocolates, and balloons. That's not what a reasonable person responds to.
I never.
Well,
Based, you fucking wish you were me, dude.
according to your own fucking iconography.
You wish you were me.
You gonna forget you what?
I never even knew. I already forgot.
Absolutely
In your
refuse.
language, Andrew.
Trolling is my language?
Yeah.
Would you put a finger up your man's ass if he let you?
What the
Hey,
fuck?
yo.
Maybe me and Based Oracle agree that that was gay.
Can you both agree that was a little gay?
Oh, you see, you don't think he's gay.
I think you're gay.
Literally, you get no pussy.